Chapter 243 with Suns in the Sky. Revenge does not wait overnight. Please subscribe _2. It certainly pales in comparison to Mount Morality Immortal. Whoosh! The auspicious cloud treasure flew to the front of the immortal sect. An invisible fluctuation swept through. An entrance appeared in the grand formation ahead. Dozens of immortal sect disciples bowed in unison. We've seen Xiaoyao Zi, Uncle Master. We've seen Jilan Fairy. Soon, they arrived at the summit of the main peak of the Dao Immortal Sect. A large hall situated here was surrounded by rich nature's spiritual energy, which even transformed into spirit rain showering down. This place was a completely different world from the outside, like a true immortal realm. Lin Yuan followed Jun Xiaoyao and Jun Jilan into the grand hall. At this time, there were already some people seated in the hall. Wuji, a female cultivator with a beautiful appearance, smiled at Lin Yuan. It was Jun Wuji's mother, the direct daughter of the current Taoist immortal sect master, Mu Lianer. And the man sitting next to Mu Lianer was Jun Wuji's father, Jun Dongjin. Jun Dongjin had a mutated heavenly spiritual root. He was the most talented individual of his generation in the Dao Immortal sect, with hopes of breaking through to the refining void period, one of the top candidates for the sect's future sect master. Ha ha ha, so this must be Wuji. Indeed, you're quite promising. Having no spirit root, yet choosing the path of body cultivation. A tall and impressive man approached, gave Lin Yuan a glance, then turned to laugh with Jun Dongjin. This tall and powerful man just standing there exuded an intangible suppression. Mu Mengting. Lin Yuan recognized this impressive man. Mu Mengting was a distinguished offspring of the Mu family of the Dao Immortal sect, and the current sect master came from the Mu family. His mother Mu Lianer was also a member. Though Mu Mengting was also a cultivator with a heavenly spiritual root, his aptitude was indeed half a step behind Jun Dongjin's, but his identity in the Mu family still made him one of the hot candidates for the future sect master of the immortal sect. Mu Mengting and Jun Dongjin were rivals. Of course, the position of sect master of the Dao Immortal sect was not about background. It was about who could break through to the refining void period first. He would be the sect master. Mengting brother overpraises. Wuji is just toying around with small achievements. They mean nothing. After all, the limit of body cultivation is the golden core stage. Jun Dongjin responded with a smile. Humph. Upon hearing those words, Mu Mengting didn't say much and returned to his seat. Lin Yuan sat next to Jun Dongjin. Mu Mengting had just shown subtle malice toward him. If Jun Dongjin hadn't spoken up in time, Lin Yuan's state of mind might have been affected. This old man. Lin Yuan's eyes narrowed slightly. 20 years ago, Lin Yuan had been no different from a cripple. Mu Mengting had not even bothered to consider him worth his attention, let alone target him. But now, Lin Yuan had achieved considerable success on the path of body cultivation. Even if this success was trivial for him, it had earned him praise from the sect master of the immortal sect, who was his maternal grandfather. This made Mu Mengting somewhat uncomfortable. That's why that earlier scene had happened. In Mu Mengting's view, the position of sect master for the Dao Immortal sect should belong to his Mu family. Yet, Jun Wuji, an outsider, emerged out of nowhere. Even if Jun Dongjin married Mu Lianer, he was still an outsider. How dare he covet the position of sect master? Just then, inside the hall, the atmosphere began to subtly change. Lin Yuan sensed it and looked toward the main seat. He saw a middle-aged man with a dignified presence, who had appeared at some point and was now sitting there. We've seen the sect master. The others in the hall noticed as well. They stood up immediately and bowed to the dignified middle-aged man. Please, everyone, take your seats. The dignified middle-aged man spoke slowly. Yes. Everyone sat down in order. Is that the immortal sect leader? The hollow void realm of the refining void period? Lin Yuan secretly observed. In terms of realms, Lin Yuan, who had just entered the 6th rank, was considered to be at the entering void realm. In this respect, he was not as advanced as the immortal sect leader. Once everyone was seated, female cultivators carrying various spirit fruits began to serve them at the tables in front of each person. Those who could participate in the Hollow Void Great Hall event of Dao Immortal Sect were principally high-level cultivators with high positions and great influence. What's the situation with the Ghost Palace of Netherworld? The voice of the Immortal Sect leader was calm as he asked. The Dao Immortal Sect dominates the central divine continent, overpowering the demonic Tao, demon Tao, and ghost path with absolute strength. However, these three are extremely tenacious. No matter the severity of the blows they sustain, they always manage to recuperate. Therefore, to prevent these three paths from causing chaos, every so often the Dao Immortal Sect sends out disciples to sweep through and purge the area. Sect Master. Those ghost cultivators have been so thoroughly beaten by our immortal sect that they are now too scared to even step into the central earth. An old man with golden lion's mane like curly hair stood up and proudly declared. He was responsible for clearing out the ghost cultivators to the south and had completed his mission admirably. Thus he spoke with great confidence. Not bad. The immortal sect leader nodded slightly. That ghost palace of Netherworld is of mysterious origin, and even I find it hard to locate. We must be cautious with the ghost cultivators on that side. The immortal sect leader spoke. It's not that the Dao Immortal Sect didn't want to completely obliterate the ghost cultivators. It's that they simply couldn't. Every time the sect master of the Dao Immortal Sect, wielding the founding artifact of the sect, went south to purge the land, all the ghost cultivators would hide within the ghost palace of Netherworld, and even an ancient saint of refinement void could not find the thoroughly concealed ghost palace of Netherworld. Therefore, dealing with the ghost cultivators to the south could only focus on suppression and clearing, containing their power from rising, and thus there would be no significant issues. What about the blood demons to the north? The immortal sect leader continued to ask. Sect master, the blood chief's blood god children have already lost 60% of their number. Ha ha ha. Now they don't dare to leave the blood demon sea. Another person rose to speak. The blood chief has merged with the blood sea. While he is nearly immortal and indestructible, he cannot leave the bounds of the blood demon sea. The immortal sect leader nodded. The blood chief was an exceptional being. Even the past immortal sect leaders, wielding the founding artifact of the sect, could not completely slay the blood chief. If the blood demon sea does not dry up, the blood chief remains undying. What about the Eastern Sea Islands? The immortal sect leader continued to inquire. Sect master. At this moment, Mu Mengting stood up and said, the Eastern Sea Islands are a mix of dragons and snakes, extremely resistant to external forces. However, over the years, I have painstakingly established a secret influence and gained control over the Black Gauze Archipelago. With me here, the Eastern Sea Islands can only remain in chaos. Mu Mengting said confidently. To the Dao Immortal Sect, the approach to the Eastern Sea Islands differed from that towards the Demon Tao, Ghost Path, and Demonic Tao. They didn't directly suppress them. The situation in the Eastern Sea Islands was exceedingly complex, constantly embroiled in internal strife. The Dao Immortal Sect only needed to ensure that no unified force emerged from the Eastern Sea Islands. Then they could rest easy without worries. Thus, Mu Mengting secretly established his own power, ready to intervene whenever there were signs of the islands unifying. This side, the force Mu Mengting secretly amassed numerous cultivation resources for, was of paramount significance and served as his left and right arms. Not bad. The immortal sect leader nodded once more. The Black Gauze Archipelago? Lin Yuan, sitting next to Jun Dongjin, felt a slight stir in his heart. Considering his plans to spread the martial path evolutionary path starting from the Eastern Sea Islands, Lin Yuan naturally conducted thorough research on the islands. And he was fairly clear about the location of the Black Gauze Archipelago. The East Sea. Lin Yuanyang's spirit suddenly came to a halt. The cloud mist-blessed land was extremely far from the East Sea. But the Yang spirit wasn't physical, and its flying speed was feared to be unmatched even by an ancient saint of refinement void. After half a month of rapid travel, Lin Yuanyang's spirit eventually arrived within the perimeter of the East Sea. In reality, the Dao Immortal Sect had a dedicated teleportation formation that could instantly reach the proximity of the East Sea. However, Lin Yuanyang's spirit decided to take a tour along the way, After all, spreading the Marshall Path evolutionary path was a 100-year plan, so there was no rush. The Black Gauze Archipelago? The Lin Yuanyang spirit and the original body shared the same consciousness. Their memories were identical, with instantaneous exchange of all knowledge and sensations. Therefore, when Lin Yuan heard about Mu Mengting establishing a power base in the Black Gauze Archipelago of the East Sea, the Yang spirit was instantly informed. That should be the Black Gauze Archipelago over there. Lin Yuanyang spirit changed course and headed towards the Black Gauze Archipelago. A moment later, the Black Gauze Archipelago appeared before him. 12 divinity transformation, 56 nascent souls. Lin Yuanyang spirit clicked his tongue, then raised his right hand. In that instant, even the high-hanging sun in the sky seemed to dim. Endless power of Taiyang, as if commanded, rushed forth even if some of it seemed unwilling, eventually converging obediently on Lin Yuanyang's spirit's right hand. For a time, two suns hung in the sky. In the end, Lin Yuan weighed the sun in his right hand, deeming its mass satisfactory. Then he threw it towards the nearby Black Gauze Archipelago. Chapter 244 Founding Artifact of the Sect, Taihao Immortal Mirror. Please subscribe. Black Gauze Archipelago. Main Island Council Hall. 12 Mahayana Phase Heaven Lords. 56 nascent soul true monarchs gathered here. Even in the politically complex and ever-changing Eastern Sea Islands, 12 Heaven Lords and 56 true monarchs formed a force that could not be ignored. Among the 800 minor sects and 3,000 factions of the left paths, this force could easily rank within the top 10. What's more, the power of Black Gauze Archipelago had completely integrated into the Eastern Sea Islands. Apart from the three strongest Mahayana Phase Heaven Lords, no one knew that the Black Gauze Archipelago was secretly controlled and driven by the Dao Immortal sects Mu Mengting. Although the 800 minor sects and 3,000 factions of the left paths in the Eastern Sea Islands constantly fought among themselves year-round, they were exceedingly xenophobic, and if they discovered a mole from the Dao Immortal sect had infiltrated their territory, even if they dared not act against it, they would subconsciously stop their internal strife and instinctively band together. This would violate the basic strategy of the Dao Immortal sect in dealing with the Eastern Sea Islands. For the Dao Immortal sect, it's best to have the 800 minor sects and 3,000 factions of the left paths of the Eastern Sea in constant chaos and infighting. As for unity, what difference would that make from the Demon Tao, the Ghost Path, or the Demonic Tao? Mu Mengting secretly controlled the Black Gauze Archipelago, stirring up the situation in the Eastern Sea and incidentally amassing a large amount of resources and wealth with a masterful approach. Compared with the complex oppression of the Demonic Tao to the north, the Demon Tao to the west, and the Ghost Path to the south by other members of the Immortal sect, Mu Mengting's control of Black Gauze Archipelago was definitely a cushy job. This was also the favoritism of the Dao Immortal sect's sect master towards Mu Mengting. In a while, he'll make a trip to the central divine continent and hand over the gains of these 100 years. In the council hall, a Mahayana Phase Heaven Lord seated at the chief position thought to himself. He looked down at the many nascent soul true monarchs below and the other Heaven Lords seated to his left and right, just about to speak. Just then, the complexion of this Mahayana Phase Heaven Lord changed slightly. He suddenly felt the air around him becoming scorching hot. Not good. More than 10 Mahayana Phase Heaven Lords dramatically changed their expressions, instinctively soaring into the sky, the unique aura of Mahayana Phase cultivators. The oppressive might that looked down upon mortals and dominated rise and fall, suddenly erupted. However, the next moment, a trace of despair appeared on the faces of the dozen Mahayana Phase Heaven Lords, because they saw a sun plummeting towards the Black Gauze Archipelago. Above the clouds, Lin Yuan withdrew his right hand, glancing down at the Black Gauze Archipelago below. At this moment, the Black Gauze Archipelago had turned into a sea of fire, with the auras of various true monarchs and heaven lords constantly erupting, only to be quickly extinguished. The secret technique of the Wanyang lineage truly has a terrifying lethal power. Seeing this, Lin Yuan nodded slightly. The sun he had just thrown down was a simplified version of the Wanyang Same Heaven, a secret technique once activated by the Wanyang Holy Sun. Having crossed hands with the Wanyang Holy Sun twice, Lin Yuan had already learned most of the latter's unique skills with his Against Heaven's understanding. If it was in the main world, Lin Yuan certainly would not have casually activated a secret technique related to the Wanyang lineage, because it could easily be recognized by other high-rank evolvers, leading to potential copyright disputes. The laws of the human alliance in the main world are sound, providing good protection for many secret techniques and laws. If you're not a disciple of that lineage and haven't purchased the secret technique from that lineage, yet you use it, that's considered stealing. No matter in which star domain or star alliance, it is deemed illegal. But while traveling between worlds, there is no need to hide. Especially now that Lin Yuan is a Yang spirit avatar, he doesn't need to be excessively cautious. The Black Gauze Archipelago? Lin Yuan looked down, ensuring that there were no survivors. The reason he targeted the Black Gauze Archipelago was mainly for two reasons. One was to take revenge for himself and Jun Dongjin. His father, Jun Dongjin, had a mutated heavenly spiritual root, and his talent was unmatched among the younger generation of the Daoed Immortal sect. But due to his status, when faced with provocation by Mu Mengting, he could only suffer in silence. Now that he had the opportunity for revenge, Lin Yuan would not let it pass by. The second reason was that he wanted to spread the martial path evolutionary path in the Eastern Sea Islands, where he was bound to clash with the Black Gauze Archipelago eventually. Rather than being obstructed and troubled by the Black Gauze Archipelago in the future, he might as well take decisive action now and eradicate it entirely. Gather. Lin Yuan, gazing down upon the Black Gauze Archipelago, took a deep breath. In an instant, a massive amount of extremely pure spiritual energy surged toward him. As one of the top forces of the Eastern Sea Islands, the Black Gauze Archipelago naturally had amassed a wealth of treasures and resources, especially those gathered for Mu Mengting, which had yet to be handed over and were stored on the island's treasury, as well as within the storage ring of the leading Mahayana heavenly monarch. Now that the Black Gauze Archipelago had been reduced to a sea of fire, everything was burned clean. Those treasures and resources, under the incineration of Taiyang True Fire, turned into the most pure spiritual energy and essence. All of it was devoured by Lin Yuan. Quite a lot. Having swallowed everything, a smile appeared on Lin Yuan's face. The essence and spiritual energy he had just consumed was enough to elevate a beginning-stage Mahayana heavenly monarch to the middle stage or even the late stage. Daoed Immortal Sect. Mu Mengting stood up, about to report to the Immortal Sect leader the results of these years of battle and how the Black Gauze Archipelago he controlled had stirred up the situation in the Eastern Sea. Suddenly, Mu Mengting's expression drastically changed. How is this possible? Mu Mengting's complexion looked terrible. He even carried a trace of panic, because he noticed that the life tablets of the group of Mahayana heavenly monarchs and nascent soul true monarchs in the Black Gauze Archipelago had shattered simultaneously. What did this mean? It meant that all the Mahayana heavenly monarchs and nascent soul true monarchs had fallen, and their time of death was nearly identical. In addition, it also meant that the Black Gauze Archipelago, which he had painstakingly managed, was no longer in existence. If even the Mahayana heavenly monarchs and nascent soul true monarchs had perished, what about the other cultivators and personnel? Chapter 245 Founding Artifact of the Sect. Taihao Immortal Mirror. Please subscribe _2. What has happened? Seated in the main seat, the leader of the Daoed Immortal Sect spoke. Sect Master. The divinity transformation and nascent soul cultivators of the Black Gauze Archipelago have just perished. Mu Mengting dared not conceal anything and immediately spoke up. What? The eyes of the Daoed Immortal Sect leader turned cold. How dare they? The Daoed Immortal Sect leader suddenly stood up. At the same time, above the head of the Daoed Immortal Sect leader, a mirror emitting boundless light and ages appeared. A beam of light, as if penetrating through time and space, shot out from the highest place of the Daoed Immortal Sect, and in just a few moments, it descended in front of the Black Gauze Archipelago in the East Sea. Above the clouds, Lin Yuan, who was relishing, slightly changed his expression and looked up toward the terrifying mirror light coming from the Daoed Immortal Sect. His figure silently disappeared. The next moment, the mirror light arrived. It transformed into a phantom. Upon closer inspection, it was indeed the appearance of the Dowd immortal sect leader. The phantom looked down at the Black Gauze archipelago, which had been transformed into a sea of fire, swept its icy gaze around, and with a cold snort, disappeared without a trace. Tens of thousands of miles away, Lin Yuanyang's yang spirit appeared. Is that the founding artifact of the sect, the Taihao immortal mirror? Lin Yuan's expression grew somewhat solemn as he thought to himself. Using his yang spirit form, it took him half a month to fly from the cloud mist-blessed land to the East Sea. But the leader of the Dowd immortal sect, with the help of the Taihao immortal mirror, arrived in the East Sea in just a few moments? Is the Dowd immortal sect leader that powerful? Of course not. The Dowd immortal sect leader is only at the refining illusionary and hollow realm, equivalent to the 6th rank, 4th to 9th layer of the main world. He couldn't possibly have such terrifying speed. All of this was due to the founding artifact of the sect, the Taihao immortal realm. This immortal artifact's power is limitless, its mirror light capable of reaching any corner of the central divine continent. No wonder 12,000 years ago, the blood demon in the north, the ghost cultivator king in the south, and the barbaric demon saint in the east, gathering the powers of 3 refining void ancient saints, wanted to initiate a decisive battle yet were still utterly defeated by the Dowd immortal sect. Lin Yuan's thoughts surged. However, the one who just descended must not be the immortal sect leader himself, but an incarnation of the immortal mirror, and crossing such a long distance must also entail considerable consumption. Lin Yuan analyzed in his heart. Dowd immortal sect. Inside the great hall, the Dowd immortal sect leader, who had stood up, watched as the mirror above his head slowly disappeared. The Dowd immortal sect leader then sat back down. Sect master, Mu Mengting couldn't help but ask. At that moment, he was extremely heartbroken, for he had spent many years cultivating the Black Gauze archipelago. The dozen or so divinity transformation heaven lords and dozens of nascent soul true monarchs were not only his subordinates, nurtured over many years and unrelated to the Dowd immortal sect, but their use in the Eastern Sea Islands was also irreplaceable. The Dowd immortal sect disdained the Eastern Sea Islands because they were resource-poor and unnecessary to occupy. But resource-poor in comparison to the Dowd immortal sect, for a cultivator who could hold even a small part of the Eastern Sea Islands in their grip, the benefits were still remarkably substantial. This Mu Mengting had deeply experienced over the years. But now everything was gone. They didn't know how much effort it took to barely cultivate more than a dozen divinity transformation heaven lords, all of which were now lost. The person has fled. The Dowd immortal sect leader shook his head slightly. Upon hearing this, everyone present showed a look of shock. Even Mu Mengting, despite his extreme heartache, had his pupil's contract. The sect master had activated the founding artifact of the sect, the Taihao immortal mirror, with its boundless and unmatched power. Yet the person who destroyed the Black Gauze archipelago had escaped? Look! The Dowd immortal sect leader's mind stirred. A series of illusory images appeared above the great hall. Just now, although he hadn't captured the chief culprit, he had traced back part of the scene based on the residual aura left on the field. All the people in the great hall looked towards the scene displayed. Black Gauze archipelago, waters rippling. The scene showed the Black Gauze archipelago in a state of tranquility. At that moment, high above the clouds, a figure had appeared, unbeknownst to anyone. The figure was hazy and indistinct, its specific shape and appearance unclear, merely gazing silently downward at the Black Gauze archipelago. Under everyone's watchful eyes, the blurry figure above the clouds slowly extended its right hand. In an instant, the scene began to distort. Infinite fire system power continuously converged in the right hand of the blurry figure, forming a mini-sun composed of massive amounts of Taiyang true fire. The brilliance and heat of the mini-sun were nearly parallel to that of the great sun in the sky. The next scene chilled everyone's heart even more. The person above the clouds simply tossed the mini-sun in their hand towards the Black Gauze archipelago. The scene ended. What a terrifying fire system Dao technique, remarked an elder with golden, lion-maned curls, unable to contain his astonishment. Just within a moment's breathing time, To condense such huge Taiyang true fire not only points to the reason of strong cultivation realm but also indicates a terrifying control over the power of Taiyang. Since when did such a powerful being appear in the East Sea? Asked the Dowd immortal sect leader from the higher seat, furrowing his brows. Considering the power demonstrated by that blurry figure, it had already reached Mahayana perfection and was even beginning to infinitely approach the refining void ancient saint layer. Pay more attention to this person, said the Dowd immortal sect leader. Yes, the crowd below responded in unison. Xiaoyao Zhilan, you two should just stay inside the sect and not go out in the near future. Mu Lianer glanced at Jun Xiaoyao and Jun Zhilan and transmitted her voice. If you encounter this person, don't even think about resisting, just use your life-saving measures and run. After giving her instructions, Mu Lianer's gaze turned to Lin Yuan, who looked exceedingly well-behaved sitting nearby. You two, learn more from Wuji and don't always think about going out. How dangerous is it outside? Wuji is very good, spending all his days inside cloud mist blessed land, not going anywhere. Mu Lianer looked at her youngest son with relief. Although Jun Wuji had no spirit root, he was much steadier, at least not causing her any worry. Half a day later, the Hollow Void Realm ceremony ended. Lin Yuan left accompanied by the farewells of Jun Xiaoyao and Jun Zhilan. He returned to Cloud Mist-blessed land. Little brother, we are heading back first, said Jun Xiaoyao and Jun Zhilan, bidding him farewell before hastily departing. The appearance of a mysterious figure skilled in fire system Dao techniques in the East Sea had caught the attention of the Dowd Immortal Sect, and they needed to discuss how to deal with this powerful entity. The Dowd Immortal Sect, known for its dominating actions, absolutely didn't allow the emergence of a being beyond their control. A month later, news came from the East Sea. Bayou Island was about to appear. Bayou Island was an extraordinarily unique island. It was akin to a blessed paradise of the East Sea, teeming with thick spiritual energy, making it a sacred ground for cultivation. However, Bayou Island was not immobile. It would sink into the deep sea every 2,000 years. Deep sea bottoms, perilously dangerous, were home to ancient demonic beasts that have survived from tens of thousands of years ago. Thus, each time Bayou Island sank, cultivators on the island could only leave. Not even Mahayana Phase Heaven Lords dared to sink together with Bayou Island. The depths of the sea harbored terrifying sea pressures, and even the Mahayana Phase Heaven Lords' powers were hindered, let alone those unfathomable ancient beasts. Mahayana Phase Heaven Lords would find their scalps tingling with fear. It had been 2,000 years since the last time Bayou Island submerged. Calculating the time, the island was due to resurface soon. When the time arrived, Bayou Island, carrying 2,000 years' worth of accumulated thick spiritual energy, would return to the East Sea. Given that the East Sea was originally not rich in spiritual energy, only a few dozen suitable places for cultivation existed, most of which were occupied by hundreds of secondary doors and 3,000 left paths. Now, with the impending appearance of Bayou Island, countless East Sea cultivators were preparing eagerly, hoping to secure a cultivation cave dwelling on Bayou Island. Cloud Mist-blessed land. Inside the cultivation chamber, Lin Yuan sat cross-legged, his inner chi undergoing gradual changes, seeming to be transforming bit by bit. Finally, as if reaching a certain limit, Lin Yuan's entire being surged in aura, which then quickly settled down. 6th rank? Lin Yuan opened his eyes, a smile appearing on his face. Chapter 246, To Be or Not to Be. Over 5,000 words mega chapter. Please subscribe. All my strength has been restored. Lin Yuan's smile faded, and his eyes became calm. 6th rank, equivalent to the ancient saint of refinement void in this realm. One could almost be considered the strongest in the current age, even facing the Taoist immortal sect master wielding the founding artifact of the sect. It would be very difficult to kill an ancient saint of refinement void completely, at most limit and suppress the latter. The methods of the ancient saints can indeed be considered inconceivable. From the 1st rank to the 6th rank, it's nothing for me, just retracing my steps. The path of cultivation beyond the 6th rank is what matters. Lin Yuan thought to himself. To carve out the 6th rank chapter of the martial arts evolution system, Even relying on against heaven's understanding, it's not an overnight feat. One needs to keep trying, to open up and choose the most suitable path from many directions. This time through, Lin Yuan had two goals. The first was to carve out the 6th rank chapter of the martial arts evolution system as much as possible. At least to cultivate to the extreme level of the 6th rank. With a 500-year stay, Lin Yuan believed it was no big issue. The second was to spread the martial arts evolution system, to root his path as deeply as possible in this world, facilitating his future ultimate leap. The immortal cultivation system of this realm could be used as a reference. Lin Yuan contemplated within. The martial path, evolutionary path he established, was built on the flesh and blood of many other evolutionary paths. Now, taking the immortal cultivation system as a reference should come naturally. Of course, Lin Yuan was also clear about the importance of things. His referencing of the immortal path's evolutionary path was just that, referencing. No matter how many cultivation systems or evolutionary paths are borrowed, the martial Tao cultivation system still has its own core, with a clear distinction between primary and secondary. Otherwise, could the martial path evolutionary path still be called by that name in the future? The martial path evolutionary path was created by Lin Yuan after exhausting efforts, and it contains his strong personal life imprint. It's like a towering tree. You can prune its branches and leaves, but you cannot tamper with the main trunk and roots. Next, I can devote some energy to raising my body cultivation realm to the refined void level. Lin Yuan decided within his heart. The lineage of body cultivation is an extension of the immortal cultivation system, yet it fits quite well with the martial path evolutionary path. Both share something in common. That is the exploration of the physical body. Of course, in the tens of thousands of years in Central Divine Continent, there has never been a body cultivator who reached the refining void level. But Lin Yuan was different. What countless favored sons of the past in this world couldn't do, Lin Yuan believed he could. And now that he had regained 6th rank martial Tao strength, with his formidable and incomparable body, cultivating the body cultivation technique would surely make rapid progress. Along with the guidance of against heaven's understanding to chart the course ahead, becoming an unprecedented refining void body cultivator was likely just a matter of time. The reason for devoting energy to body cultivation was that Lin Yuan deduced that a body cultivator at the refining void level would almost inevitably develop physical body divine abilities. Such means greatly enhance one's abilities in certain aspects, and Lin Yuan was quite curious about them. Moreover, sharpening the axe won't delay the work of cutting wood. Understanding the lineage of body cultivation techniques would also help Lin Yuan's martial path evolutionary path significantly. While Lin Yuan was retreating to Cloud Mist Blessed Land to cultivate and seek enlightenment, the Eastern Sea Islands were continually stirring major upheavals. There were mainly two things. The first, Bayou Island's emergence, was imminent. After 2,000 years of nurturing in the depths of the sea, Bayou Island's emergence was bringing not only a cultivation holy land comparable to the blessed lands of Central Divine Continent. The spiritual medicines and immortal roots that grew on the island had also fully matured. As Bayou Island's 2,000-year cycle of sinking and floating had become regular, many cultivators planted spiritual medicines and immortal roots on the island prior to its submersion 2,000 years ago. Hence, after 2,000 years of growth, most have matured, and at the bottom of the deep sea, undisturbed, their growth is exceptionally fine. Therefore, for the cultivators of the Eastern Sea, no matter if it's the 800 secondary schools, the 3,000 left paths, or other independent cultivators, Bayou Island is a great opportunity. No one is uninterested. Even the Blood Demon to the north and the Ghost Cultivator King to the south have set their sights on Bayou Island. Beyond Bayou Island's emergence, the other issue that stirred the passions of many cultivators in the Eastern Sea Islands had to do with the destruction of the Black Gauze Archipelago. This matter can be divided into two aspects. First is the mysterious powerhouse who, using the fire system Tao, in one fell swoop turned the Black Gauze Archipelago into nothingness. Outsiders almost believe that this mysterious powerhouse is only a line away from the ancient saint layer, or possibly already infinitely close to the ancient saint level. Otherwise, how could there be such a heaven-reaching method that left more than 10 heavenly monarchs and dozens of true monarchs of the Black Gauze Archipelago unable to even resist, and they perished completely? The other aspect, is that after the mysterious powerhouse obliterated the Black Gauze archipelago, the vast light from the founding artifact of the sect from the Dowd Immortal sect in Central Earth descended upon the Black Gauze archipelago. The Taihao Immortal Mirror is the only immortal artifact of this realm. Its light represents boundless light, boundless culpa, its might immense, and the disturbance of transporting it from the immortal sect through to the Eastern Sea cannot be easily concealed. Since that mysterious powerhouse just wiped out the Black Gauze archipelago, and the vast light of the founding artifact arrived so quickly, it was hard not to link the two together. What is the background of that mysterious powerhouse? No matter where they are from, that mysterious powerhouse must have a troubled relationship with the Dowd Immortal sect. Indeed, otherwise the Dowd Immortal sect would not use their founding artifact. Even using it once would be a drain, even for an ancient saint of refinement void. Such a powerhouse nearly stepping into ancient saint level shouldn't just appear out of nowhere, right? Could it be a powerful figure nurtured by the ghost cultivator king to the south? Chapter 247, To Be or Not to Be, over 5,000 words mega chapter. Please subscribe, _2. Ghost Cultivator King? The Ghost Cultivator King is indeed strong, an ancient sage level expert, but for him to cultivate someone to the ultimate firmness and yang, wielding Taiyang true fire at the pinnacle of Mahayana perfection, that might be a challenge too great for even the mighty. Indeed, that mysterious powerhouse excels in Taiyang true fire, the nemesis of ghost cultivators and blood demons, definitely not from the south or the north. Could it be the work of the barbaric demon saint from the west? But that doesn't seem likely, and besides, the demon Tao from the west has Mount Morality Immortal standing between it and the East Sea, making it quite difficult to cross over, let alone have any intention in coming here. Many cultivators of the Eastern Sea Islands were discussing fervently. They continuously speculated about the origins of that mysterious powerhouse. After all, although the Eastern Sea Islands were a mix of dragons and snakes, a Mahayana heavenly monarch close to the refining void period was extremely rare. The addition of even one more could influence the current situation of the Eastern Sea Islands. Blood Demon Sea. The Vermilion Sea, red as blood, undulated. In the depths of the Blood Demon Sea on an islet, a man in a crimson robe was sitting cross-legged. In front of him floated illusory scenes of Lin Yuanyang's recent annihilation of the Black Gauze archipelago. Taiyang True Fire? How long has it been since a heavenly monarch who mastered Taiyang True Fire appeared? The corners of the crimson-robed man's mouth lifted, revealing a hint of a smile. Taiyang True Fire, the world's utmost yang and toughest flame, said to burn everything to ashes. It seems he's not from the Dowd Immortal sect. The crimson-robed man fell into thought, then spoke. Come, master. The blood sea churned around him, and a figure emerged, bowing to the man in crimson. Go and find out more about this person. Do not offend him. The enemy of immortal sects is a friend of mine, understand? The crimson-robed man spoke indifferently. Ghost Palace of Netherworld. Upon a somber and pitch-black throne sat a gaunt man. Such a level of Taiyang True Fire. The gaunt man frowned slightly. As a ghost cultivator, even reaching the refined void realm, he instinctively detested the Taiyang True Fire, this utmost yang flame. However, the gaunt man knew well that the mysterious powerhouse wielding Taiyang True Fire must have a grudge with the Dowd Immortal sect. Therefore, no matter what power he wielded, he would be an ally of the Ghost Palace of Netherworld. Xiao Lu, the gaunt man spoke up. A weak and delicate-looking woman appeared. If one observed carefully, they would find that this delicate woman's figure was somewhat translucent. She was a ghost cultivator. Go to the East Sea. Try your best to gather information about this person. After speaking, the gaunt man added another instruction. Remember, he might be our ally, so we must avoid any reckless actions. Time passed by. 5 years flit by in the blink of an eye. Cloud mist blessed land. In the cultivation chamber, Lin Yuan sat cross-legged alone. The blood in his body flowed like a great river, and his hot blood qi made the temperature of the whole chamber soar, even distorting the air. Physical cultivation godhood peak. Just a little more, and I can attempt to break through to refine void. Lin Yuan opened his eyes, settling his blood qi. I can vaguely feel that deep within my bloodline, some power is awakening. Could that be the physical body divine ability? Anticipation appeared on Lin Yuan's face. Physical body divine ability is unique to each individual, stemming from the latent power deep within one's bloodline. Before the complete awakening of the physical body divine ability, no one knows what their power might be. Of course, no matter what kind of physical body divine ability one has, it's greatly beneficial to a cultivator, an independent force outside the immortal cultivation system. Take it slow. I'm not in a hurry. Lin Yuan stopped cultivating. In the past 5 years, aside from advancing his physical cultivation from the initial stage of divinity transformation to the peak, Lin Yuan also progressed in the martial Tao cultivation system from the first segment of the 6th rank to the 3rd segment. If measured by the realm standards of the local immortal cultivation system, Lin Yuan would now be considered at the entreng void realm at the very peak. It's time to calculate. Bayou Island should be emerging. Lin Yuan's mind shifted slightly as he looked in the direction of the East Sea. About 5 or 6 years ago, there had been rumors that Bayou Island was about to emerge. But in reality, the process from the near emergence of Bayou Island to its complete surfacing requires a considerable amount of time. After all, rising from the depths of the deep sea to the surface cannot be accomplished overnight. But even if it's slow, by now it should be close to surfacing. It's just the right timing. If I want to spread martial Tao and establish a power base, I must have a territory. Dowd Immortal Sect has Mount Morality Immortal, the Blood Demon Lord occupies the north, the Ghost Cultivator King claims the south, the Barbaric Demon Saint claims the west. Then I, in martial Tao, shall start with Bayou Island. Lin Yuan thought to himself. First secure Bayou Island, then recruit disciples and cultivate martial Tao. According to Lin Yuan's plan, within no more than 200 years he will sweep across the Eastern Sea Islands, and in 300 years martial Tao would stand alongside Demon Tao, Ghost Path, and Demonic Tao on par with the Dowd Immortal Sect. As for how far martial Tao can go, that will depend on the realm Lin Yuan is able to cultivate to. Eastern Sea Islands. Lin Yuanyang stood mighty amidst the clouds. Bayou Island. Lin Yuan gazed into the distance. There, spiritual energy burst forth like the origin of the East Sea's spiritual energy, spewing vast amounts of it in all directions. This was the sign that Bayou Island was about to fully emerge. Let's go. Lin Yuan's figure vanished. In the depths of the East Sea, spiritual energy surged mightily, overwhelming the surroundings. A massive island slowly floated up from beneath the sea surface. To call it an island might be an understatement. Its area was several times larger than Kanglin's star, but compared to the vast sea and the central divine continent, it was indeed just an island. Bayou Island has emerged. Chapter 248, To Be or Not to Be, super large chapter of over 5,000 words. Please subscribe _3. Hurry up if you're late. All the opportunities will be taken. Yes, we need to move fast. Tens of thousands of Eastern Sea cultivators had already been waiting for a long time. The moment Bayou Island appeared, they were ready to swarm towards it. However, just then, a mighty heavenly might enveloped everything. Dozens of Mahayana phase heaven lords, standing proudly under the heavens. It's the heaven lords. Damn it, the heaven lords from the 800 sects and 3,000 left paths have joined forces. They aim to monopolize Bayou Island. How infuriating! Why don't we have a heaven lord as our support? Countless Eastern Sea rogue cultivators felt both angry and helpless. In the Eastern Sea Islands, the strong are revered. Such is the rule, the iron law. Fellow Taoists, we will not let everyone return without gain. The outer regions of Bayou Island will soon be open to all. Under the heavens, a female heaven lord spoke, her voice echoing in the ears of every cultivator. The outer region? It's acceptable, though the spiritual energy is far less than inside Bayou Island. It's still better than the outside. Who called us weak? Upon hearing this, many Eastern Sea rogue cultivators breathed a slight sigh of relief. At least they hadn't come here in vain this time. Above Bayou Island, under the heavens, the dozens of Mahayana phase heaven lords confronted each other. This time, As Baiyu Island emerges, Whitebone's sect intends to occupy 50% of the core region, said a Heaven Lord, his figure skeletal, slowly. This Heaven Lord was known as Baigu Heaven Lord, the master of Whitebone's sect among the 800 sections. Whitebone's sect, in the context of the 800 sects, was an extremely powerful force, ranking within the top 5. 50% of the core region of Baiyu Island. Baigu Heaven Lord? Have you lost your mind? Another Heaven Lord, emanating a gloomy aura, furrowed his brows. He was known as Een Mountain Heaven Lord, master of the Een Mountain sect. Though Een Mountain Heaven Lord was not as strong as Baigu Heaven Lord, there were dozens of Heaven Lords present. No matter how strong Baigu Heaven Lord was, could he really oppose everyone? Indeed, Baigu, you are too greedy. At most, we'll give you 10% of the core region. The female Heaven Lord who spoke first opened her mouth again. She was the leader of the Divine Divination sect and also known as Divine Divination Celestial Lord. Ha 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 ha. I have reached Mahayana perfection, just half a step away from advancing to the ancient saint of refinement void realm. Not to mention 50% of the core region, even if it were 100%, what could you possibly do to me? Baigu Heaven Lord sneered coldly, his aura, almost at the pinnacle of a Mahayana heavenly monarch, began to permeate the area. Among the dozens of Heaven Lords present, their hearts suddenly tightened. Though they were all Mahayana phase Heaven Lords, most were just at the early phase, a few at the middle phase, and very few at the late phase. As for someone like Baigu Heaven Lord at near Mahayana perfection, there was none other. In the Eastern Sea Islands, the strong are revered. Since I am the strongest, it is only natural that I enjoy the best resources. Any objections? Baigu Heaven Lord's tone was extremely domineering as he glanced at the other Heaven Lords. The strongest? Baigu Heaven Lord, you are not the strongest in the Eastern Sea. Have you forgotten about the mysterious mighty one who burned down the burnt black gauze archipelago a few years ago? One Heaven Lord retorted, unconvinced. That one? Baigu Heaven Lord remained proud. With my strength, even if that mysterious mighty one appeared, what could they possibly do? Baigu Heaven Lord had the confidence to back it up. Based on the lingering aura from the burnt black gauze archipelago, the outside world's consensus on that mysterious powerhouse was that he was at the Mahayana perfection level. He absolutely had not touched the realm of the ancient saint of refinement void. Given this, the Baigu Heaven Lord was fearless. You are at Mahayana perfection. So am I. Who's afraid of whom? Even if I can't beat you, you won't be able to defeat me either. Enough. Does anyone else have any objections? The Baigu Heaven Lord didn't want to waste words. He was ready to descend swiftly and enjoy the dense spiritual energy of White Jade Island. The surrounding Mahayana heavenly monarchs looked at each other, and in the end, none had the courage to oppose the Baigu Heaven Lord. After all, this was a Mahayana perfection powerhouse. Humph! The Baigu Heaven Lord glanced at the crowd, snorted coldly, and was about to enter White Jade Island. Just then, from below on White Jade Island, a figure leisurely flew out. Someone entered White Jade Island before us? The celestial lords present were somewhat stunned. They had been guarding outside White Jade Island. How could someone enter under their watch? The Een Mountain sect lord sensed the aura of the newcomer and his expression instantly changed. It's that mysterious powerhouse. Yes, the aura is unmistakable. The numerous celestial lords prepared for battle. The figure that emerged from White Jade Island had the power of Taiyang flowing around him. Watching this figure was like looking directly at the sun overhead. The mysterious powerhouse? The Baigu Heaven Lord's expression was solemn. Although he had thought that someday he might confront this mystery powerhouse, also at Mahayana perfection, he had not anticipated it would be so soon. Under the watchful eyes of dozens of Mahayana heavenly monarchs, Lin Yuan ascended to the skies, reaching a height parallel to the celestial lords. The Baigu Heaven Lord's expression changed, but he restrained himself from acting impulsively. Without understanding the mysterious powerhouse's intentions, it was better to opt for peace. Seeing the Baigu Heaven Lord hold back, the other celestial lords naturally dared not make a move either. Lin Yuan looked over the many divinity transformation stage celestial lords, his demeanor calm. 800 secondary paths, 3,000 left paths. I am the White Jade Island Lord. Lin Yuan's lips curved into a smile as he softly said, "Is it or isn't it?" His voice was soft, yet it reached every celestial lord's ears, and even the many Eastern Sea freelancers below could hear these two sentences. The dozens of celestial lords looked at each other in silence, their gazes flicking back to the Baigu Heaven Lord. The Baigu Heaven Lord only wanted 5 parts in the core area of White Jade Island. This mysterious powerhouse, on the other hand, had plans to claim the entire White Jade Island. The Baigu Heaven Lord looked toward Lin Yuan, his face showing anger, his arrogance immense. Did he really think the Baigu Heaven Lord was like any other ordinary Mahayana heavenly monarch, wanting to be the Lord of White Jade Island? Had he asked the Baigu Heaven Lord's permission? Seeing no one respond, Lin Yuan's gaze swept over the celestial lords again, his expression growing colder. Be it or not. Boom! With that statement, it was as though a decree had been announced. The Baigu Heaven Lord's expression wildly changed, and the surrounding celestial lords also showed fear. We pay our respects to the White Jade Island Lord. The Baigu Heaven Lord immediately bowed deeply toward Lin Yuan. The other dozens of celestial lords did the same, all bowing in unison toward Lin Yuan. We pay our respects to the White Jade Island Lord. Chapter 249, Establishing the Tao Order and the Ultimate Physical Body. Please subscribe. Above White Jade Island, Lin Yuan stood with his hands behind his back, his expression serene. Led by Baigu Heaven Lord, dozens of Mahayana Phase Heaven Lords all bowed deeply with utmost respect. Rise. Lin Yuan was in a good mood. He had just taken a stroll inside White Jade Island and found the environment quite pleasing, very suitable to be the starting point for spreading the martial Tao. Using White Jade Island as the origin of martial Tao was undoubtedly the best choice for the initial stage. Yes, the group of Mahayana Phase Heaven Lords, like Baigu Heaven Lord, simultaneously heaved a sigh of relief in their hearts. Compared to Lin Yuan's good spirits, the shock in the hearts of these Mahayana Phase Heaven Lords could only be described as earth-shattering, especially for Baigu Heaven Lord at the forefront. His heart was churning with tempestuous waves. The moment Lin Yuan had uttered the 4 words, "Neither is also is," Baigu Heaven Lord was already prepared to take action. What a joke! White Jade Island was a grand opportunity that appeared only once in thousands of years in the East Sea. Why should he just give up such a precious island on Lin Yuan's mere claim to be the White Jade Island Lord? But before Baigu Heaven Lord could act, he felt an overwhelming pressure descend upon him, vast as the ocean. In that moment, Baigu Heaven Lord felt as if he had returned to his foundation establishment days, witnessing 2 nascent soul period true monarchs battle ferociously. That all-encompassing oppression made Baigu Heaven Lord's spirit tremble, and without any hesitation, he acknowledged Lin Yuan as the rightful lord of White Jade Island. Because Baigu Heaven Lord realized that if he didn't do so, his fate would be very, very grim. He might even end up dead, his cultivation path obliterated. Compared to his own life, what was White Jade Island? Baigu Heaven Lord glanced at the other Mahayana Phase Heaven Lords who were pale, knowing they must have had a similar experience. This mysterious powerhouse is not just at the peak of Mahayana, he must, at the very least, have touched the threshold of the refined void stage, possibly even a half-step refinement void ancient saint. Baigu Heaven Lord felt helpless inside. To progress from the Mahayana phase to the refining void period, one must overcome numerous major stages. Mahayana perfection just signifies reaching the peak, the ultimate limit of the Mahayana phase. But the distance to the void refinement realm was still unfathomably far. This was also why there were so few refinement void ancient saints in this world. Specifically, after reaching Mahayana perfection, there are still 3 or 4 stages to go through. They are touching the threshold of refined void, 1 foot entering refined void, both feet entering refined void, and more than half the body entering the refined void, and so on. In fact, in the main world, progressing from 5th rank to 6th rank is similarly complex, requiring a transformation and integration of the soul. For every additional % of transformation, one's strength increases by that much more, and when Lin Yuan's soul transformation reached 100%, His combat power had reached the threshold of 6th rank. Of course, this sort of explanation holds little meaning for the vast majority of cultivators. In the eyes of nascent Soul Period true monarchs, the difference between Mahayana perfection and almost fully entering refined void is negligible. But at this moment, Baigu Heaven Lord, who had deeply felt Lin Yuan's oppressive aura, believed that Lin Yuan possessed at least the strength of a half-step refinement void ancient saint. Otherwise, it wouldn't be possible to overwhelm him with just his presence, to give him this kind of irresistible feeling. You should go back to where you came from. Lin Yuan glanced at the dozens of Mahayana phase heaven lords who were trembling with trepidation, unsure whether to stay or leave, and spoke indifferently. Then White Jade Island Lord, we will take our leave first. The several dozen Mahayana phase heaven lords gratefully turned into beams of escape light, fleeing the area as if they had just been granted a pardon, like mice scurrying away from a cat. Lin Yuan watched as the numerous Mahayana phase heaven lords left. He did not make a move. With his power, he certainly could have detained all the Mahayana phase heaven lords. But that would accomplish little. The East Sea was vast, and though the cultivation environment wasn't nearly as good as that of the central divine continent, the area wasn't much smaller. If Lin Yuan were to kill all the Mahayana phase heaven lords, the whole Eastern Sea Islands would fall into even greater chaos. It would also draw the attention of the Dowd Immortal sect, and the Blood Demon Sea, Ghost Palace of Netherworld might take the opportunity to extend their reach into the East Sea. For Lin Yuan, the existence of these Mahayana phase heaven lords from the East Sea had no impact on him whether they were alive or dead, but their death would create greater chaos, which was why he had not acted with a killing intent. Above the sea's surface, countless cultivators of the East Sea watched incredulously as the several dozen heaven lords, previously as mighty as the heavens, discussed how to divide White Jade Island. Then, a figure emerged from within the island, and before saying much, claimed to be the Lord of White Jade Island. What was even more incredible was that Baigu Heaven Lord and the other Heaven Lords seemed to have no objections and promptly bowed down. It was like a fantastical tale. And now, the group of Mahayana phase cultivators led by Baigu Heaven Lord hastily departed from White Jade Island without any hesitation, as if White Jade Island suddenly wasn't a prize to vie for, but a place of nightmares. What on earth happened? Why did all the Heaven Lords leave? Who is the person who walked out of White Jade Island? Is he truly the White Jade Island Lord just because he says so? The numerous cultivators of the East Sea whispered among themselves. The scene was too inconceivable. The Heaven Lords, who were like immovable celestial beings, were now so benevolent? I remember now, this person must be the mysterious powerhouse who burnt the Black Gauze Archipelago years ago. I have been to the Black Gauze Archipelago before, and the Taiyang True Fire aura, so utterly young, is unforgettable to this day. So it's that powerhouse. Doesn't make sense though, wasn't it said that he was only at Mahayana perfection? How could he make Baigu Heaven Lord and a host of other Heaven Lords retreat? Isn't that simple? In the Eastern Sea Islands, power is respected. While Baigu Heaven Lord, also at Mahayana perfection, only dared to ask for half of the core area of White Jade Island. But this powerhouse directly took the entire White Jade Island for himself. It can only mean his strength far exceeds Mahayana perfection. Chapter 250 Establishing the Tao Order and the Ultimate Physical Body. Please subscribe _2. Many scattered cultivators from the Eastern Sea Islands discussed in turn, ultimately speculating the majority of the situation. It wasn't difficult to figure out whether it was in the East Sea or the Central Divine Continent. Strength decided everything. That deities like Baigu Heaven Lord and others at the divinity transformation stage retreated was hard to imagine at first, but upon careful thought, one could understand the reasoning behind it. Under the expanse of the sky, Lin Yuan's gaze fell upon the numerous scattered cultivators of the Eastern Sea Islands below. I am Yuan Yang, the master of Baiyu Island. Today, I established the White Jade Pavilion to broadly recruit disciples. Anyone who passes the test and joins the White Jade Pavilion will qualify to enter the core area of Baiyu Island for cultivation. As Lin Yuan spoke, his voice was gentle yet reverberated in the ears of every cultivator. Yuan Yang was the name Lin Yuan gave to this Yang spirit avatar, and the White Jade Pavilion was the force he planned to establish in order to spread the martial path evolutionary path. After Lin Yuan finished speaking, he vanished above Bayou Island. The numerous cultivators below exploded into discussion. Yuanyang. So this mysterious powerhouse is called Yuanyang? Did you all hear that? As long as you pass the test and join the White Jade Pavilion, you can enter the internal regions of Bayou Island for cultivation. I want to apply to join the White Jade Pavilion. It's good to enjoy the shade under a big tree. Since Master Yuanyang overpowered several heaven lords, following him must be right. The multitude of scattered cultivators were quite tempted. Of course, everyone knew very well that since Yuanyang mentioned passing the test, it meant that not everyone could join the White Jade Pavilion. But in any case, it was still worth a try with no loss involved. Lin Yuan's occupation of Bayou Island and the establishment of White Jade Pavilion to recruit a large number of disciples not only caused a stir among the Eastern Sea Islands. It also caught the attention of the Dowd Immortal sect, situated in the central divine continent. Mount Morality Immortal. At the highest summit, within the Grand Hall, the high-level cultivators of the Immortal sect gathered together. Above the main seat at the high end of the hall, the Immortal sect leader Mu Qinglu appeared. Sect Master. All present stood and bowed in greeting. Speak directly. Sect Master Mu Qinglu commanded. That mysterious powerhouse who took action against the Black Gauze Archipelago has appeared again. He calls himself Yuanyang, claiming Bayou Island, establishing the force of White Jade Pavilion, and broadly recruiting disciples. Mu Mengting immediately reported. He had paid close attention to this matter over the years. After all, the Black Gauze Archipelago was his many years of effort, and its overnight fall was a considerable blow. Oh! Are the divinity transformation cultivators of the East Sea allowing him to do as he pleases? Immortal sect leader Mu Qinglu frowned. That's not exactly the case. Mu Mengting hesitated before continuing. When Bayou Island emerged, the Heaven Lords of the 800 sects and 3,000 left paths in the East Sea also harbored designs on Bayou Island, but in the end, they all gave up voluntarily. Sect Master, that Yuanyang's strength must not be as simple as just Mahayana perfection. It is estimated that he is at the half-step refined void level. The elder with golden, curly, lion-like hair stood and spoke. Half-step refinement void? Immortal sect leader Mu Qinglu fell into contemplation. What are your thoughts? How should we deal with this Yuanyang and the White Jade Pavilion? Mu Qinglu asked. Sect Master, such a powerhouse, unless an ancient saint of refinement void makes a move, it is very difficult to deal with him. Jun Dongjin stated. A half-step refinement void ancient saint's power almost exceeds the divinity transformation stage. Without the ancient saints taking action, they stand unstoppable. Even using the sect's founding artifact, the Taihao Immortal Mirror, to project an avatar millions of miles away, they couldn't bother a half-step ancient saint. The power of an avatar of the mirror was far less than the true body, having at most a power that approached an ancient saint. But since Master Yuanyang was a half-step ancient saint, only a true ancient saint could pose a threat to him. However, the Dowd Immortal sect had only one refinement void ancient saint, which was the sect master, and though they had many safeguarding foundations, they were all geared more towards defense and protection. Unless Master Yuanyang personally set foot in the central divine continent, the Dowd Immortal sect was rather powerless, given his location in the vast East Sea. As for letting Sect Master Mu Qinglu take the founding artifact of the sect and head to the East Sea to suppress the enemy, the Dowd Immortal sect is not without enemies. North of the divine continent lies the Blood Demon Sea, south of it is the Ghost Palace of Netherworld, and west of it the barbaric demon Saint Nest. As long as Sect Master Mu Qinglu dares to leave the Immortal sect with the founding artifact, Mount Morality Immortal faces the risk of being attacked. To put one's own immortal mountain in jeopardy for a mere half-step refinement void ancient saint, regardless of how low the possibility, is simply not worth it. Let's just wait and see for now. The Immortal sect leader Mu Qinglu spoke. In fact, with the foundation of the Dowd Immortal sect, even if Mu Qinglu left with the founding artifact, the Ghost Palace of Netherworld, Blood Demon Sea, and barbaric demon Saint Nest could not breach Mount Morality Immortal in a short period. Yet there was no necessity to withstand the siege of 3 ancient saints of refinement void without having a saint of the same tier defending. The Dowd Immortal sect would also have to pay a significant price. The Master Yuanyang was merely a half-step refinement void ancient saint, and not worth the Taoed immortal sect paying a price to deal with. For hundreds of thousands of years, Central Divine Continent had seen such figures come and go, not requiring the hand of the immortal sect for them to disappear from history. Time passed. In the blink of an eye, another 10 years went by. On Bayou Island in the East Sea, within the core cave dwelling, Lin Yuanyang sat cross-legged, his yang spirit. Upon reaching the 6th rank, Lin Yuan's yang god and yin god were almost solidified into substance. Unless he went all out, one would never be able to tell they were but avatars of the primordial spirit. After half a day, Lin Yuan finished his cultivation. Stepping out of the cave dwelling, he looked over the entire Bayou Island. In 10 years, the White Jade Pavilion had significantly expanded. With a powerful figure like Lin Yuan as its anchor, many scattered cultivators from the East Sea were extremely eager to join the White Jade Pavilion. Of course, the requirement to join the White Jade Pavilion was that regardless of what cultivation methods one practiced before joining, after joining, one must abandon them and convert to martial Tao. This requirement deterred many scatter cultivators, but still, many were willing to willingly convert to martial Tao. As of today, the number of martial Tao cultivators in the White Jade capital has surpassed 100,000. Among them, 12 are at the 3rd rank of martial Tao, 5,730 at the 2nd layer, and over 90,000 at the 1st rank. The spiritual energy on Bayou Island is abundant, comparable to the blessed lands and caves of heaven in the Central Divine Continent. Although martial Tao does not depend on nature's spiritual energy, having it is better than not. Master! Just as Lin Yuan stepped out of the cave dwelling, a girl with delicate features approached and respectfully greeted him. This girl, named Li Qing, was a disciple taken by Lin Yuan during the past 10 years. She possessed quite impressive martial talent and had already stepped into the 3rd rank of martial Tao. How's the spread of the martial Tao cultivation methods going? Lin Yuan asked. Li Qing was not just talented. She was reliable and adept at handling affairs. Most of the White Jade Pavilion's matters were entrusted to her while Lin Yuan was in seclusion. Master, the initial chapter of the martial Tao cultivation methods has been spread across the Eastern Sea Islands. Parts of it have even reached the Central Divine Continent, the Blood Demon Sea, and Ghost Palace of Netherworld have also seen distribution. Li Qing replied, Good. Lin Yuan nodded. To spread the martial path evolutionary path, relying solely on the White Jade Island and White Jade Pavilion was clearly insufficient. Instead, it was necessary to let the martial arts system's methods disseminate in this world, so that even if the White Jade Island and White Jade Pavilion were to vanish, the martial arts system would continue to exist. This was Lin Yuan's goal. The world consciousness of this land was different from that of the 5 regions world and did not target a specific cultivation system. Cloud Mist Blessed Land. Inside the cultivation secret chamber, Lin Yuan sat quietly, the breath within his body circulating. Suddenly, the aura released by Lin Yuan surged sharply. 6th rank, stage 5. Lin Yuan opened his eyes as the aura he emitted rapidly receded, making him seem like an ordinary person. After 10 years of cultivation, Lin Yuan had opened the 6th rank chapter of the martial arts evolution system to its 5th stage. However, Lin Yuan felt that the further he went, the greater the difficulty in advancing, for the paths he opened for the martial path evolutionary path were as perfect as possible. If he had only intended to create an ordinary 6th rank evolution path, there was no need for Lin Yuan to expend so much effort. However, it seems I can now break through to the refined void stage in body cultivation. A smile spread across Lin Yuan's face. Over the past 10 years, alongside the development of the martial path evolutionary path, he had not ceased his research into the path of body cultivation. Now Lin Yuan's proficiency in body cultivation had reached its pinnacle, lacking only the final step. Chapter 251, Flattening the Demon Saint's Nest. Please subscribe. Body cultivation void layer. I've almost completely comprehended it. Lin Yuan thought to himself. As long as he wished, he could now step into refined void in the body cultivation lineage, becoming the first body cultivation ancient saint in the Central Divine Continent in hundreds of thousands of years. However, Lin Yuan's expression fell into brief contemplation. Unlike returning to the 6th rank, the lineage of body cultivation was new to Lin Yuan. If he broke through to body cultivation refined void, it would be difficult to perfectly conceal his aura as he did when returning to the 6th rank. Lin Yuan's return to the 6th rank emphasized return, having already traversed it once in the main world. Therefore, when he stepped into the 6th rank again in this immortal Tao world, as easy as eating and drinking, even the founding artifact of the sect, the Taihao Immortal Mirror, which monitored all aura in Divine Continent, did not detect Lin Yuan stepping into the 6th rank. But if he were to break through in the body cultivation lineage to refine void, Lin Yuan wasn't confident he could control his own aura, considering he had never walked this path before. I can't break through in cloud mist blessed land, Lin Yuan silently thought to himself. The Dowd Immortal Sect was nearby. This place was under the direct surveillance of the Taihao Immortal Mirror. Any slight anomaly in aura would attract the attention of the Taihao Immortal Mirror, consequently drawing the gaze of the Immortal Sect leader. For hundreds of thousands of years, why hadn't the Dowd Immortal Sect, Blood Demon Sea, Nether Palace, and Demon Saint's Nest dared to invade easily? It was because of the Taihao Immortal Mirror. This immortal founding artifact, when activated on its own, could cover Central Divine Continent. If activated by an ancient saint, it could even form an immortal mirror incarnation and descend anywhere in this world. Of course, the farther the distance, the weaker the incarnation of the immortal mirror would be. Where to break through? In front of Lin Yuan, multiple screens of light appeared, showing a map of this world. Lin Yuan's gaze first fell on the area of the Eastern Sea Islands. After years of being presided over by Yang Spirit, White Jade Pavilion had already become the foremost among the 800 subsidiary sects and 3,000 left paths of the East Sea. No! Lin Yuan pondered for a moment and then gently shook his head. The East Sea was indeed under the influence of White Jade Pavilion, but it was also a key focus area for the Dowd Immortal Sect, Blood Demon Sea, and Ghost Palace of Netherworld. Especially as the influence of White Jade Pavilion had grown over the years, the Dowd Immortal Sect had particularly increased their scrutiny here. Choosing to break through in the East Sea was not a good idea, as the immortal mirror incarnation of the Immortal Sect Master might descend at any time, making it unnecessary to take such a risk. Apart from the East Sea, Lin Yuan could only choose the north, south, or west. In fact, there was almost no difference between these three places. Although they were constantly ravaged and suppressed by the Dowd Immortal Sect, the greater the suppression, the safer it was, as it was darkest under the lamp. Let's choose the west. Lin Yuan made up his mind. To the west was the domain of the barbaric demon beasts. The Demon Saint's Nest was the holy land of the barbaric demon beasts, guarded by a demon saint whose power paralleled the ancient saint of refined void layer. And the barbaric demon saint Nest was under the purview of Jun Wuji's father, Jun Dongjin, who was responsible for the suppression and sweeping of the area. Over the years, Lin Yuan had roughly figured out the deployment and routine of the Immortal Sect disciples suppressing the barbaric demon beasts. With this knowledge, Lin Yuan could definitely achieve his breakthrough unnoticed and undisturbed by external forces. Even if some breakthrough anomalies occurred during the process, they would be hard to detect for a while, and by the time they attracted the attention of other powerhouses, Lin Yuan would have already left. Having determined the location for his breakthrough, Lin Yuan walked out of the cultivation chamber. "My lord." Chunhua and Shuye greeted him warmly. Lin Yuan nodded. Several days later, Lin Yuan instructed Chunhua and Shuye, "I plan to go into closed-door cultivation soon. Turn away anyone looking for me, including big brother, second sister, father, and mother." "Yes." Chunhua and Shuye immediately responded. This was not the first time such an event had occurred. Ever since Jun Wuji moved into Cloud Mist Blessed Land decades ago, he had begun to cultivate frenziedly, spending most of the time in closed-door cultivation. And during this period, no one could disturb him. After instructing Chunhua and Shuye, Lin Yuan once again entered the cultivation chamber. Time to leave. Lin Yuan stood inside the chamber, leaving behind a trail of his own scent. This scent could replace him, being sensed by the outside world's Chunhua and Shuye. At the same time, if anyone broke into this cultivation chamber, no matter how far Lin Yuan was, As long as he was within this realm, he would be able to sense it. After completing all this, Lin Yuan silently left Cloud Mist Blessed Land. This was the second time Lin Yuan had left Cloud Mist Blessed Land since he moved in. The first time was during the grand ceremony of the immortal sect leader's grandfather in the Hollow Void, on the edge of Central Divine Continent. In an ordinary valley, at some point a figure appeared. This place is quite good. Lin Yuan looked at the valley and nodded slightly. This valley was not within the jurisdiction of Central Divine Continent, nor was it in the domain of the barbaric demon beasts, but was in a buffer zone between the two. Here, the Taihao Immortal Mirror of the Dao Immortal Sect could not monitor on its own unless the Immortal Sect leader actively stimulated it, specifically sensing this location. But it was very unlikely for the Immortal Sect leader to do so without any reason. The reason why the Immortal Sect leader had previously activated the Taihao Immortal Mirror and descended into the East Sea was because Lin Yuan had interfered with the Black Gauze Archipelago and disrupted the sect's arrangements. This is it. Lin Yuan arrived at the valley and sat cross-legged in a cave. Sigh. An ethereal figure walked out from inside Lin Yuan. It was the Yin spirit. This breakthrough was a physical one, so the Yin spirit and Yang spirit were free to protect Lin Yuan. Since Lin Yuan had broken through to the 6th rank, the power of the Yin spirit and Yang spirit had also risen significantly. Even though they were slightly weaker than their original form, they still possessed the combat power of an ancient saint of refined void layer. With an ancient saint protecting his cultivation, Lin Yuan's breakthrough, especially in such a buffer zone, wouldn't matter. He would have ample time to handle any situation that arose. Chapter 252, Flattening the Demon Saint's Nest. Please subscribe. _2. Even if we retreat 10,000 steps, during the breakthrough, the immortal sect leader holding the founding artifact of the sect might come to kill. The Yin spirit can also take Lin Yuan's true self away. It's merely a matter of failing the breakthrough. For Lin Yuan, there are plenty of ways to compensate. It's not considered a significant loss. Begin. Lin Yuan closed his eyes. Inside his body, the vast vital blood slowly began to boil. East Sea. Bayou Island. At the moment Lin Yuan was breaking through, the Yang spirit opened his eyes, looking in the direction where Lin Yuan was. I hope nothing goes wrong. Lin Yuanyang thought to himself, yet he ceased his seclusion, constantly paying attention to any disturbance during Lin Yuan's breakthrough. If some extreme situation did occur, one where an ancient saint-level powerhouse came to kill, the Yang spirit avatar could rapidly disperse at a crucial moment, then reconvene within the Yin spirit's body. In other words, appearing beside Lin Yuan out of thin air, covering an infinite distance. The Yang God and Yin God are inherently two sides of the same entity. After the Yang God disperses, the Yin spirit, at great cost, can quickly give birth to the power of Taiyang, and in turn, form the Yang God. When the Yin spirit and Yang spirit merge, they transform into the Taiji primordial spirit, whose combat power is by no means weaker than Lin Yuan's true self. Of course, such a technique would cause certain wear and tear on the Yang spirit and Yin spirit, but as long as it ensures the smooth breakthrough of the true self, it is worth some sacrifice. On the other side of the tense buffer zone between Central Divine Continent and the barbaric demon beast forces, Jun Xiaoyao and Jun Jilan stood in the void, commanding a large number of immortal sect disciples, slaughtering the barbaric demon beasts. It was at this time Jun Xiaoyao's expression changed slightly. He reached out for a disc-shaped magical artifact. At this moment, its needle was trembling incessantly. This disc artifact was named Demon Sensing Disc. It could sense the movements, numbers, and strengths of demonic beasts within tens of thousands of miles. And just at that moment, the Demon Sensing Disc was vibrating continuously. It must be the esteemed firstborn prince from the Demon Saint's nest who has awakened, Jun Xiaoyao said solemnly. The firstborn prince? Jun Xilan's expression darkened. The Demon Saint's nest is a holy land for the barbaric demon beasts, where demon saints on par with ancient saints lie dormant. If not for the Demon Saint's nest, the barbaric demon beasts would have long been annihilated by the Dao Immortal sect. How could they still exist until now? And the firstborn prince is the premier progeny of that demon saint within the nest. The strength of the firstborn prince could be said to be the strongest below the ancient saints, and with his demon saint bloodline, could even burst forth with true ancient saint-level combat power for a short period. If that's the case, have all disciples temporarily retreat to the divine continent, Jun Zhilan commanded. The barbaric demon beast's firstborn prince was too terrifying. The Daoed immortal sect indeed had the means to counter him, but there was no need. The firstborn prince had a special bloodline, spending most of his time in slumber, only occasionally waking up to wander around. It can be said that as long as the Daoed immortal sect avoids the time when the firstborn prince is awake, they need not face such a terrifying opponent. Very well. Jun Xiaoyao nodded. He immediately issued the order. Countless Daoed immortal sect disciples, who were slaughtering demonic beasts, stopped promptly and headed back to the boundaries of Central Divine Continent. Meanwhile, deep in the barbarian wilderness, a terrifying presence was stirring back to life. Countless demonic beasts, whether great demons or demon kings, were all trembling in fear, lying prostrate on the ground, daring not to move. Boom, boom, boom. 1,000 zhang tall figure could be seen slowly approaching, with each step causing the earth to quake and the old aura of the barbarian wilderness hitting one's face. Upon closer inspection, this 1,000 zhang tall figure was, astonishingly, a giant ape. What exactly is the concept of 1,000 zhang? Converted into meters, that's 3,000 to 4,000 meters, majestic and towering. Finally awake again. Mother really insists on making me practice that kind of demonic technique. Out of 100 years, I have to sleep for 90. The 1,000 zhang giant ape strode along, paying no mind to the countless demonic beasts it trampled to death. For it, those beasts were no different from ants. Who would care about stepping on a few ants? What fresh air! It's a pity I can only enjoy it for 10 years. The 1,000 zhang giant ape sighed. In 10 years, it would have to continue its slumber, until it woke up again 100 years later. Boom, boom, boom. The 1,000 zhang giant ape continued on its way. It quickly left the area of the barbarian wilderness and arrived at the border region facing the Central Divine Continent. Humph! Those disciples of the immortal sect are quite clever, all having run off without a trace. The 1,000 zhang giant ape glanced in the direction of the Central Divine Continent, not intending to invade. Although it had slept for nearly 100 years, the giant ape's mind was somewhat slow to react. But it wasn't dumb. Entering the Central Divine Continent would be akin to exposing itself under the Taihao Immortal Mirror, constantly vulnerable to an attack from the immortal sect leader from afar. It'll just stroll around here. The 1,000 zhang giant ape decided to limber up its limbs. Just then, the giant ape seemed to sense something and sniffed with its nose. This aura? The eyes of the 1,000 zhang giant ape lit up. It faintly sensed a vast amount of nature's spiritual energy converging towards a certain location. Is it the appearance of a heaven and earth spirit root? Or is it the ripening of a great herb of this world? The giant ape's huge mouth cracked open. Mine, it's all mine. The 1,000 zhang giant ape immediately strode towards the direction it had sensed. In a valley, Lin Yuan opened his eyes. Virtual body refinement. Feeling the huge surge of vital energy within his body, Lin Yuan's spirits were lifted. Physical body divine ability? Lin Yuan could already feel that deep within his bloodlines, a certain aura had been nurtured to completion, ready to take form at any moment. Just as Lin Yuan was about to check exactly which physical body divine ability it was, suddenly, a thunderous rumbling came from the earth. The next moment, Lin Yuan left the cave. He came up to the top of the valley. What's that? Lin Yuan looked off into the distance. Chapter 253, Flattening the Demon Saint's Nest. Please subscribe. _3. A giant ape, 1,000 zhang tall, was madly rushing in this direction. The great prince of the demon saint's nest? Lin Yuan immediately recognized the other party. After all, this demon was extremely famous, known to be a match for the ancient saint of refinement Void, and when it burst forth, it even possessed combat power at the level of an ancient saint. Boom, boom, boom. The 1,000 zhang giant ape took huge strides forward. Where is my heaven and earth spirit root? Where is my great medicine of this world? The 1,000 zhang giant ape stopped in its tracks, looking around. With its enormous size, it paid no attention to the valley beneath its feet. To the giant ape, what they called a valley was nothing but a small mound. "Ha! Did you steal my heaven and earth spirit root and the great medicine of this world?" The thousand-jong giant ape scrutinized carefully and soon spotted a figure as tiny as a speck of dust. In the distance, several demonic beasts cautiously observed the thousand-jong giant ape. "The great prince seems to be in a good mood," a wolf demon muttered under its breath. He too was a demon king of the Mahayana phase, but in front of the thousand-jong giant ape, he was no different from those great demons of the nascent soul stage. Some of the human race didn't leave? A demon king next to him seemed to have discovered something and looked towards the minute-human figure on top of the valley beneath the giant ape's feet. He probably didn't notice. Too bad, he's going to die under the great prince's feet. The third demon king said quietly, his tone revealing schadenfreude. On his way here, the great prince had crushed countless demonic beasts. Now, stepping on a human, they only felt much more balanced. This human, facing the great prince, is still not running. He might have some strength. Another demon king couldn't help but say, "Humph! What can a bit of strength do? In front of the great prince, if you're not an ancient saint, you're all just ants." The wolf demon that started the conversation sneered. The great prince of the demon saint's nest represented the strongest combat power just below the demon saint. "That's true." The other demonic beasts nodded one after another. "There is no spirit root or great medicine here." Lin Yuan stood at the top of the valley and said calmly, "Liar! I clearly felt the aura of the spirit root and great medicine. Was it you who stole my spirit root and great medicine?" The thousand-jong giant ape flew into a rage. Its voice buzzed, rolling like thunder. "Die!" Following that, the thousand-jong giant ape lifted its right foot and stomped towards Lin Yuan and the valley, intent on crushing them into dust. In the distance, several demonic beasts, witnessing this, looked at Lin Yuan as if they were looking at a dead man. More accurately, none of the demonic beasts' gazes lingered on Lin Yuan, for in the next moment, he would die under the great prince's foot. The great prince's stomp leverages the power of heaven and earth, touches upon the mysteries of space, and even if one had the fastest speed, they couldn't dodge, only endure. Endure the stomp of the great prince? That's not something a human divinity transformation stage Heaven Lord could do. Only an ancient saint's intervention or life-saving measures of an ancient saint's level, such as talismans or magical treasures, could save one. Otherwise, death is certain, the demonic beasts quickly discussed. Their gazes were also observing the great prince's stomp, seeking to learn something from it. However, in the next moment, all the demonic beasts froze. They saw the towering thousand-jong giant ape suddenly stumble and, unable to help itself, retreat several steps, shaking the ground, opening several enormous fissures. In the next instant, the thousand-jong giant ape was stomped into the ground by someone. Under their incredulous gazes, Lin Yuan, who initially seemed as tiny as a speck of dust, now appeared as a towering giant, stomping the thousand-jong giant ape directly underfoot. Another stomp, pinning the trying to resist giant ape further into the ground. One more stomp, causing the giant ape to spit out a mouthful of fresh blood as the sound of its bones cracking echoed. It lay bloodied and on the brink of death. If it were before. But Lin Yuan looked down at the giant ape, as if looking at an insignificant ant, and said calmly, "I have already been to the depths of the barbarian wilderness and have flattened the demon saint's nest." Chapter 254, Physical Body Divine Ability. Mu Kinglius Decision. Please subscribe. The thousand-yard giant ape was strong. This strength was not limited to its physical body. It was more about the mastery of space and other mysterious rules. If someone thought that the thousand-yard giant ape was just a dumb giant, they were greatly mistaken. He could clash head-on with an ancient saint, the great prince of the barbaric demon beast clan. How could it rely solely on brute force? Unfortunately, the thousand-yard giant ape encountered Lin Yuan. With the strength of the thousand-yard giant ape, even if it truly confronted an ancient saint, it had the ability to save its own life. After all, the demon saint's nest was not far away. If the 1,000-yard giant ape could hold out for a while, the demon saint from the demon saint's nest would come to its aid. However, in front of Lin Yuan, who had already stepped into the body cultivation void, the 1,000-yard giant ape did not even last a breath before Lin Yuan trampled it to the brink of death with severe injuries. This was the power of the body cultivation void. In the central divine continent, this was an unprecedented power of the body cultivation line. After stepping into the body cultivation void, Lin Yuan faintly felt that with a single punch or kick, he could suppress the surroundings. One force overcomes all laws. This referred to the body cultivation. Since it's almost dead, might as well. Lin Yuan looked down at the 1,000-yard giant ape, spitting out blood, and suddenly made up his mind. In the distance, several demonic beasts watching in silence fell absolutely quiet, their gaze frozen. What did they see? Their great prince, in front of that seemingly insignificant member of the human race, had no power to fight back. That was the great prince, capable of contending with an ancient saint. How could he be in such a state in front of Lin Yuan? The demonic beasts looked at one another. They instinctively felt, was their great prince too weak? However, in an instant these demonic beasts realized, how could the great prince be weak? Throughout his journey, the great prince was famously fierce. They knew it by heart. Since it was not the great prince that was weak, then it must be that the human was too strong. Strong enough that even the great prince had no ability to resist. Who exactly is this ancient saint? Aren't they afraid of causing chaos across the world? The hearts of these demonic beasts trembled. If this insignificant human could incapacitate the great prince with just a few kicks, then it meant this person was undoubtedly at the level of an ancient saint. Currently, Dowd Immortal Sect rules the Central Earth, Ghost Palace of Netherworld, Blood Demon Sea, and Demon Saint's Nest each occupy the south, north, and west of the Divine Continent, respectively. But these four major forces abide by an unwritten rule. That is, unless absolutely necessary, the ancient saints at the refined void level need not take action. Even over a decade ago, when Dowd Immortal Sect's arrangement in the East Sea's Black Gauze Archipelago was destroyed, only an incarnation of the mirror descended from the sect master of Dowd Immortal Sect, while the original body still sat in power on Mount Morality Immortal. Look, that person, what is he doing? The demonic beasts had scattered thoughts, their pupils suddenly constricting, because they saw that tiny human race being, heading towards the 1,000 feet tall ape, opened its mouth to inhale. In an instant, the previously gasping 1,000 feet tall ape saw its inner vitality and blood energy crazily draining away. In less than a moment, turned into a skeleton. Not bad, not bad. Almost equivalent to several dozen near 6th rank great medicines. A smile emerged on Lin Yuan's face. He had just broken through to the body cultivation void, and although his combat power had surged, his body was weak due to the breakthrough. This 1,000 feet tall ape came at just the right time, directly serving as the nourishment for Lin Yuan to compensate for his weakness. Just then, accompanied by the complete fall of the 1,000 feet tall ape, deep within the barbarian wilderness, a tremendous aura began to awaken. That demon saint? Lin Yuan glanced over. It was no secret that a demon saint was stationed at the barbaric demon saint nest. However, this demon saint was mostly in a slumbering state. Let's go. Lin Yuan had no intention of engaging with that demon saint. It wasn't that Lin Yuan couldn't handle the demon saint, but it was simply pointless. Lin Yuan, not yet at the strength to dominate the world, saw retaining the demon saint to restrain the Dowd Immortal Sect as beneficial, with no need to devastate them entirely. A moment later, a terrifying divine sense descended, transforming into an even more majestic and towering giant ape phantom. Who exactly is it? The giant ape phantom let out a deep roar, looking at the corpse of the prince, raging intensely inside. It had held great expectations for the prince, and if everything had gone smoothly, the prince only needed another 5,000 years to reach the refining void ancient saint layer. At that time, the barbaric demon saint nest would possess 2 demon saints, possibly even tamper with the central divine continent. But now, the prince was dead. All its elaborate plans were shattered. In the short run, among the countless demonic beasts of the barbarian wilderness, not one possessed the potential to ascend to demon saint. The giant ape phantom's gaze shifted towards the distant, trembling demonic beasts. Immediately, it raised its right hand, and those few demonic beasts appeared before it. Soul search. The giant ape phantom's mind slightly stirred. The scenes the several demonic beasts had just witnessed became vividly clear before it. Such strength. Seeing Lin Yuan effortlessly kill the prince with several stomps, the giant ape phantom's expression subtly changed. Involving no intricate rules, merely physical strength, such methods originate from the human race's body cultivation. Could this person possibly be a body cultivator in the refining void period? The giant ape phantom muttered to itself. Body cultivators are inherently proficient in physical combat. Their combat power in the same layer is considered extremely strong. However, for various reasons, they have only been a subsidiary to the immortal path. Dowd immortal sect? They nurtured a body cultivator in the refining layer? The giant ape phantom looked displeased. No matter how one puts it, body cultivators are still a part of the immortal path. Now that a refined void body cultivator has emerged, it could only attribute it to the Dowd immortal sect. Chapter 255 Physical Body Divine Ability. Mu Kinglius Decision. Please subscribe _2. Half a day later, a beam of mirror light crossed infinite distances. It descended upon the buffer zone between Central Divine Continent and the barbarian wilderness. The offspring of the demon saint is dead? Taoist immortal sect master Mu Qinglu frowned. Sect master, at that time, Jun Xiaoyao immediately began to explain. Upon sensing that the great prince of the barbaric demon beasts was about to awaken, Jun Xiaoyao had all the disciples of the numerous immortal sects retreat to the Central Divine Continent for the time being. In addition, Jun Xiaoyao also spied on the movements of the Thousand-Zhang giant ape from a distance through a secret technique. What he discovered was a terribly shocking scene. A great prince standing 1,000 zhang tall was actually trampled to death by the tiny figure after just a few stomps. Jun Xiaoyao did not see the appearance of that tiny figure, for this person's vitality surged around him, repelling all spells and divine skills. Let me see. The Taoist immortal sect master Mu Qinglu arrived at the scene, and then, with the aid of the light of the Taihao immortal mirror, began to trace back. This was the capability of the Taihao immortal mirror, which could forcibly trace back to a specific period in a region's past. Of course, the traced-back scenes could not involve levels of refined void. Ancient saints were already influencing the surrounding heaven and earth, the natural nemesis of such tracing-back techniques. Buzz! The scene shifted. The next instant, the scene was filled with boundless vitality. Indeed, it is an ancient saint, and furthermore, a body cultivation ancient saint. Taoist immortal sect master Mu Qinglu stayed silent, although the scene did not specifically trace back to anything, but based on Jun Xiaoyao's explanation and the residue aura at the scene, he was already able to deduce many things. A body cultivation ancient saint? Since when did my Central Divine Continent birth such a powerful being? Mu Qinglu thought, frowning. He was unaware whether this body cultivation ancient saint was a friend or a foe to his Dowd immortal sect. But beyond doubt, a body cultivation ancient saint skilled in offensive capabilities could completely alter the balance of power among the current 4 major forces if he wished to. In the north of Divine Continent, Blood Demon Sea, the ruler of the Blood Demons sat cross-legged on a small island deep within the Blood Demon Sea. Although he was also an ancient saint of refinement void, he had merged with the Blood Demon Sea, thus possessing an ability close to immortality. However, he also gave up his freedom as his true body could not leave the Blood Demon Sea's range. Of course, if willing to pay the price, the ruler of the Blood Demons could also enter the Central Divine Continent. That would be by driving the Blood Demon Sea to start expanding. As long as the Blood Demon Sea was vast enough to cover the entire world, the restriction that the ruler of the Blood Demons could not leave the Blood Demon Sea would make no difference. Ha! News from the Demon Saint? The ruler of the Blood Demons raised his eyebrows. In order to jointly resist the Dowd immortal sect, the Demon Saint's Nest, the Blood Demon Sea, and the Ghost Palace of Netherworld had always shared intelligence. The enemy of an enemy is a friend. The Dowd Immortal sect was too powerful. If they did not join forces, they would only face defeat more quickly. A body cultivation ancient saint has appeared? The ruler of the blood demons appeared grave. The limit of the lineage of body cultivation was the divinity transformation stage, which is why it was a vassal to the immortal path, and many cultivators always treated body cultivation techniques as a means to strengthen the body and improve health. Even so, if not relying on external objects at the same level, a body cultivator was seldom much weaker than a cultivator of the same level. In some aspects, they might even be stronger. Especially from the divinity transformation stage of the body cultivation lineage, there was an extremely low chance to conceive physical body divine abilities. Body cultivators in the divinity transformation stage had a chance to master physical body divine abilities. Theoretically, body cultivators in the refining void period had an even higher chance of mastering physical body divine abilities. Where did this body cultivation ancient saint come from? Is he the backup of the Dowd Immortal sect? The ruler of the blood demons desperately wanted to know the identity of this body cultivation ancient saint. If this body cultivation ancient saint really came from the Dowd Immortal sect, in the next thousands of years the Blood Demon Sea, the Demon Saint's Nest, and the Ghost Palace of Netherworld wouldn't be able to turn the tide and would only be able to hide in their own territories, barely clinging to survival. In the south of Divine Continent, Ghost Palace of Netherworld. A body cultivation ancient saint? The gaunt man sitting on the throne had a bit of a headache. Over the past few decades, too many changes had occurred in the world. First, a master Yuanyang from the East Sea emerged, possessing the strength of a half-step refinement void ancient saint. And now, another body cultivation ancient saint had appeared. As the king of ghost cultivators, how could the gaunt man not know how powerful a body cultivation ancient saint was? Where are all these people coming from? The gaunt man rubbed his brow. Let's not mention that Master Yuanyang from the East Sea for now, with half-step refined void strength. He might be some ascetic master hiding his prowess. But a body cultivation ancient saint? Has such a thing ever emerged throughout history? Shouldn't there be some sort of omen? Like the emergence of a group of body cultivators at the divinity transformation stage first. Then from this group, a body cultivation ancient saint would be born. Only then would it make sense as a gradual progression. Still, I need to investigate this, as to what stance this refinement void ancient saint truly holds. The gaunt man did not believe that this body cultivation ancient saint came from the Dowd Immortal sect. If the latter, known for its domineering style, had actually born a body cultivation ancient saint, they would have announced it impatiently by now. How could there be no news about it until now? Cloud mist blessed land. Lin Yuan appeared silently in the cultivation chamber. No one has noticed. Lin Yuan glanced at the situation in the cloud mist blessed land after leaving for over 10 days. Everything was normal. No one else had come to visit, and Chunhua and Chue had been dutifully standing guard outside. Physical body divine ability. Lin Yuan let out a light breath. He faintly felt the pulsation deep within his bloodline, almost fully formed, ready to break out of its shell at any moment. Exactly what kind of physical body divine ability is it? Lin Yuan looked forward with anticipation, quietly waiting. After half a day, the physical body divine ability completely took shape. In an instant, a deluge of information about physical body divine ability flooded into Lin Yuan's mind. Physical body divine ability? Blood rebirth? Lin Yuan's eyes shone brightly. This divine ability could be called omnipotent. Whether it was for saving his own life or for fighting, it had great utility. According to the introduction of this divine ability, as long as Lin Yuan's physical body had not completely turned into nothingness, and there was at least a drop of his blood remaining, he could quickly be reborn. That was truly terrifying. For someone like Lin Yuan, who possessed a martial Tao primordial spirit and was an evolver, even if his physical body collapsed, the primordial spirit still had the power to fight. But for the vast majority of 6th-rank evolvers without a physical body, although it wouldn't mean death, their soul bodhis and spirit bodhis strength would significantly diminish. First, I will comprehend the fundamental essence of this divine ability. Lin Yuan gathered his thoughts and began to study carefully, relying on his against heaven's understanding. The divine ability, blood rebirth, was indeed good, but it came from the bloodline power of Jun Wuji in this world. That is to say, once the time for Lin Yuan to stay was up and he returned to the main world, even if he became a refined void body cultivator again, the awakened physical body divine ability might not necessarily be blood rebirth. After all, the two bodies were different, and their bloodlines were also different. However, as long as he fully understood the essential principle of the blood rebirth divine ability, no matter where Lin Yuan was, he could use this divine ability. The so-called divine skills, the so-called talents, were nothing more than a complex law or Tao. Once its essence was understood, it could be easily deployed. That was the terrifying aspect of against heaven's understanding. Study all things, and then utilize all things. Dowd Immortal Sect. At the highest hall, Sect Master Mu Qinglu sat expressionless. I can't wait any longer. Mu Qinglu stood up and muttered to herself. In the buffer zone between Central Earth and the barbarian wilderness, traces of a body cultivation ancient saint had appeared. This made Mu Qinglu somewhat uneasy and also feel a hint of pressure. If this body cultivation ancient saint allied with the Nether Palace, Blood Demon Sea, and Demon Saint's Nest, even though they still wouldn't be able to shake the foundations of the Dowd Immortal Sect, it would indeed cause great chaos across the land. The Dowd Immortal Sect urgently needed a second refinement void ancient saint to preside over it now. Originally, Mu Qinglu wanted to observe for a while longer and choose the final successor between Jun Dongjin and Mu Mengting. But now there was no more time for that. The resources and methods currently possessed by the Dowd Immortal Sect were only enough to forcibly promote one person to the refining void period. As long as the Immortal Sect has two ancient saints presiding, even if that body cultivation ancient saint joins forces with those three old fools, it won't make a difference, Mu Qinglu thought to herself. Having two ancient saints presiding over Mount Morality Immortal had an effect that wasn't as simple as 1 + 1 = 2. Jun Dongjin, Mu Mengting. The names of these two individuals flickered through Mu Qinglia's mind, and she had already made her decision. Chapter 256 Assassination. Strike. Subscription requested. Discussing aptitude, it was definitely Jun Dongjin who had the advantage. With a mutated heavenly spiritual root talent, he could easily make it into the top 50 in the history of the Dowd Immortal Sect, spanning hundreds of thousands of years. And Jun Dongjin was a steady person. Should he manage to step into the refining void period, continuing to maintain the Dowd Immortal Sect's dominant position in the Central Divine Continent wouldn't be difficult. However, Jun Dongjin was, after all, an outsider. Even if he married a female cultivator from the Mu family, he was still an outsider. If Jun Dongjin became the future sect master of the Dowd Immortal Sect, he certainly wouldn't allow the Mu family to continue holding soul power. No matter the reasoning, he would suppress the Mu family. That was the instinct of those in power. On the contrary, if Mu Mengting became the next sect master of the Dowd Immortal Sect, such an event wouldn't occur. After all, Mu Mengting was a cultivator from the Mu family. Mu Qinglia's expression was calm. At his level, whoever became the next immortal sect leader wouldn't make much difference to him. The most important thing was how to maintain the interests of the Mu family. Moreover, Mu Mengting was only inferior to Jun Dongjin. When compared to other members of the Dowd Immortal Sect, Mu Mengting was already at the peak. With the accumulated heritage of the Dowd Immortal Sect over hundreds of thousands of years, there would be no problem for Mu Mengting to assume the position of sect master. Dongjin, don't blame me. Blame it on the fact that you are not from the Mu family, Mu Qinglu thought to himself. In fact, if there were a few more decades or centuries, and if Jun Dongjin were to reach the refining void before Mu Mengting, Mu Qinglu would indeed consider cultivating Jun Dongjin as the Immortal Sect's next generation leader. Unfortunately, time waits for no one. With both of their progress being similar, Mu Qinglu naturally considered his own family first. Since he decided to cultivate Mu Mengting with all his effort, Mu Qinglu naturally began to suppress Jun Dongjin. Otherwise, if Jun Dongjin saw that Mu Mengting was trying to reach the refining void period with the full support of the sect, he would inevitably become mentally unstable. At that time, no matter what actions he took, it would be a loss for the sect. Thus, Mu Qinglu decided to transfer Jun Dongjin out of the Dao Immortal sect ahead of time. With Dongjin's talent, even without the help of the sect, he is still expected to step into the semi-ancient saint level in the future. He'll be the villain and take the initiative to transfer Dongjin's family away. Later on, when Mengting becomes the sect master, we can bring Dongjin back and entrust him with important duties again to win his loyalty. Mu Qinglu thought in his heart. In the world of immortal Tao, individuals wield great power, but controlling a force is not just about having strength. Especially in the Dao Immortal sect, with the looming threats of the Nether Palace, Demon Saint's Nest, and Blood Demon Sea, a sect master at the ancient saint level needs to be constantly stationed on Mount Morality Immortal. At such times, managing the entire central divine continent depends on whether the subordinates are up to the task. And in Mu Qingli's view, Jun Dongjin was clearly a very qualified subordinate. Even if he couldn't become the immortal sect leader, serving as an elder in charge could save the sect master a lot of trouble. Mount Morality Immortal. Jun Dongjin, Mu Lianer, Jun Xiaoyao and Jun Zhilan, a family of 4, sat with furrowed brows. What does grandfather mean by sending our whole family to Vast Cliff Mountain? That place is remote and it doesn't have any important resources. Is there a need for all 4 of us to go? Jun Zhilan was somewhat dissatisfied. She had been living comfortably on Mount Morality Immortal, where the spiritual energy was abundant and the cultivation environment was suitable. As for Vast Cliff Mountain, although it was still within the central divine continent, it naturally fell short compared to Mount Morality Immortal. The sect master must have his considerations. Perhaps Vast Cliff Mountain has some important resource that we don't know about? Jun Xiaoyao always thought about issues from the sect master's perspective. I'll go ask father what exactly is going on. Mu Lianer stood up, planning to see Mu Qinglu. She couldn't understand why, out of the blue, her father suddenly issued such an order to their family. In recent years, Jun Dongjin had carried out the tasks assigned by the sect master quite well, without a single mistake, and there was no need for such orders. Lianer. Jun Dongjin hurriedly stopped Mu Lianer. Since the sect master has issued the sect order for this matter, it is already set in stone. If you go, you would make the sect master uncomfortable. Jun Dongjin shook his head and said, "It's just as well. I've been busy with various sect affairs in recent decades. Now that I have some free time, it's a good opportunity to rest. I've heard that Vast Cliff Mountain is surrounded by a large number of mortal kingdoms. It'll take you all to have a good look around when we get there." "Dad, you're really optimistic." Jun Zhilan rolled her eyes. But there was something Jun Dongjin said that was correct. About their family's relocation, it was made via an official sect order by the sect master. There was no longer any room for changes or turning back. Even if they were reluctant, they had no choice but to follow the order, otherwise, it would be tantamount to betrayal of the immortal sect. "Perhaps father just wants to temper your temperaments, and he will call you back soon," Mu Lianer consoled. Mount Morality Immortal. At the Mu family peak, Mu Mengting and a few trusted subordinates arrived at a secret chamber at the top of the mountain. This was one of the few places in the central divine continent unaffected by the surveillance of the Taihao Immortal Mirror. "Mengting brother, have you heard? That Jun Dongjin is going to be transferred out, and his whole family is going to Vast Cliff Mountain to take charge." A round-faced man spoke in a low voice, his tone betraying a sense of pleasure. Over the years, Mu Mengting and Jun Dongjin had fought openly and covertly countless times for the position of sect master. With Jun Dongjin being a mutated heavenly spiritual root, he was quite well liked within the sect and valued by those supreme elders. Thus, even with the backing of the Mu family, Mu Mengting often found himself at a disadvantage. His subordinates felt the pinch even more than Mu Mengting himself did. Now, hearing that Jun Dongjin's family was about to be transferred, their pleasure was easy to imagine. Chapter 257 Assassination. Strike. Subscription requested. _2. If it hadn't been for the sect rules, they would probably have started celebrating outside already. Why does the sect master want to reassign the entire Jun Dongjin family? Mu Mengting was also in a good mood, yet he began to ponder. He didn't know that sect master Mu Qinglu had already planned to choose him as the future sect master, and reassigning Jun Dongjin was also for his sake. and it was for the layout of taking over Jun Dongjin in the future. I heard that recently, a major event occurred in the barbarian wilderness. The second subordinate spoke up. The big prince of the demon saint's nest died, apparently at the hands of an ancient saint. I have heard about that too. Mu Mengting nodded. However, exactly how it happened and which ancient saint had acted, no one knew. The sect master must know, but since he didn't say it himself, no one dared to ask. Mengting brother, whether it has anything to do with this incident or not. None of this is important. Now, there is an unprecedented opportunity. Though Jun Dongjin has been reassigned from the immortal sect, it doesn't mean he won't come back. The third subordinate lowered his voice. What do you mean? Mu Mengting's expression changed slightly. Hee. In the past, Jun Dongjin always had a large number of subordinates with him. But this time, the reassignment order from the sect master specifically instructed only Jun Dongjin's family of 4 to go to Vast Cliff Mountain. If Jun Dongjin's family dies on the journey, it shouldn't be hard, right? This subordinate's tone was cold. The Taihao immortal realm envelopes the entire central divine continent. Any action by us would be exposed. Mu Mengting shook his head as he said, the Taihao immortal mirror monitors foreign energies. If cultivators from the Blood Demon Sea, Demon Saint's Nest, or Ghost Palace of Netherworld dare to enter the central divine continent, the immortal mirror would certainly detect them. But if it's an energy exerted by a former sect master, even if the immortal mirror detects it, there won't be any reaction. The subordinate continued speaking. Are you suggesting I use the symbol talisman of the ethereal refinement stage left by the predecessors of our immortal sect? Mu Mengting said. A talisman is created by using special methods to retain the power of one strike within the corresponding paper. If someone later activates the talisman, it's equivalent to unleashing the power stored inside it. Dao's immortal sect has been inherited for hundreds of thousands of years, with each sect master of the refining void period leaving behind some talismans, each preserving their full strike power. All previous refining void period sect masters had once been masters of the Taihao immortal mirror. Their exerted energies were not within the Taihao immortal mirror's alarm range. No, it may not be detected at the time, but if the sect master investigates afterward, exposure is inevitable. Mu Mengting still shook his head. If Jun Dongjin were to die, the sect master would surely investigate. With the retrospective ability of the Taihao immortal mirror, his methods couldn't possibly remain hidden. Yes, the sect master would certainly know. But by then, Jun Dongjin would already be dead. In the Dao's immortal sect, only you, Brother Mengting, are capable of succeeding the position of sect master. The subordinate continued speaking. There are many disciples in the Dao's immortal sect, and not lacking in geniuses besides me, there are plenty of disciples who could be chosen for the sect master position. Mu Mengting remained somewhat hesitant. Mengting brother, you underestimate your standing within the sect too much. Unless the immortal sect can once again produce someone with a mutated heavenly spiritual root like Jun Dongjin. Otherwise, within 1,000 years, you are the most suitable candidate for sect master, and there's something I don't know if I should say. Our Dao's immortal sect masters have a tenure of at most 15,000 years, and now sect master Mu is already nearing 12,000 years. Mengting brother, you are also a member of the Mu family, a direct descendant of the sect master. Besides Jun Dongjin, whom else would he cultivate if not you? But if Jun Dongjin lives and comes back, it would be uncertain whose hands the future sect master position would fall into. Hearing his confidant subordinate's suggestion, Mu Mengting's expression fluctuated unpredictably. All right. After a long time, Mu Mengting suddenly stood up, his eyes cold as he spoke. Outside cloud mist blessed land. Jun Dongjin, Mu Lianer, and their children Jun Xiaoyao and Jun Jilan were saying goodbye to Lin Yuan. Little brother, just stay well in cloud mist blessed land. Jun Jilan said reluctantly. The sect's order only required Jun Dongjin's family of 4 to go to Vast Cliff Mountain. As for Wuji, their perennially reclusive youngest son, he was not included. Perhaps in Mu Kinglius' eyes, Wuji didn't warrant attention. What significance does a golden core stage body cultivator have for the Dowd immortal sect? Moreover, since Wuxia had joined the cloud mist blessed land, he had never taken the initiative to enter Mount Morality Immortal, making him an absolutely harmless entity. Be careful on your way. Lin Yuan looked towards Jun Dongjin and Mu Lianer and said, "What's there to be careful about? That vast cliff mountain is also under the protection of the Taihao Immortal Mirror's power within the central divine continent. Those wastrels from the Ghost Palace, Demon Saint's Nest, and Blood Demon Sea, could they possibly dare to attack me?" Jun Dongjin said with a smile. Clearly, he was very confident in his sect's founding artifact. "Regardless, it's always safe to be cautious," Lin Yuan said. "External enemies are not to be feared. The real threat comes from enemies within. For example, there's Mu Mengting." Through years of understanding, Lin Yuan knew that Mu Mengting was the type to hold grudges. It's not that such a personality is bad in a cultivator, but one must always be on guard. "Understood. Then we'll take our leave first." Jun Dongjin waved his hand, and then left with Mu Lianer, Jun Xiaoyao, and Jun Zhilan. Lin Yuan watched as Jun Dongjin and the others disappeared. He then turned and returned to the cloud mist blessed land. In the cultivation chamber, Lin Yuan sat cross-legged. "Go, follow them." Lin Yuan thought briefly. The Tai-Yin primordial spirit emerged from his body and quickly disappeared from the spot. Vast Cliff Ancient Path. This is the essential path that leads to Vast Cliff Mountain. In the dense forest beside the ancient path, several figures were all stationed there. These figures, with concealed auras, were all Mahayana phase heaven lords. "They've arrived. That Jun Dongjin's family is almost here," the figures carefully observed, sensing the aura thousands of miles away. Soon, a jade chariot arrived swiftly, clearly a top-notch flying ship talisman. "Later, we won't need to act personally, just jointly activate this talisman," said the leading figure, struggling to pull out a pale golden talisman from his storage bag. This pale golden talisman, even without being activated, emitted an immensely terrifying power. The symbol talisman of the refined void stage. The surrounding figures looked at the talisman with intense interest. This was a foundation of the Dowd Immortal sect. If it weren't for Mu Mengting bringing monks from the Mu family, let alone taking out a refined void stage talisman, they wouldn't even get to touch it. As soon as that jade chariot, the leading divinity transformation monarch began to make arrangements. The symbol talisman of the refined void stage, just to activate it, required all these divinity transformation monarchs to join forces. Suddenly, at that moment, under the watchful eyes of several divinity transformation monarchs, the pale golden symbol talisman of the refined void stage, as if stimulated, suddenly activated itself. Hum! The symbol talisman of the refined void stage exploded. It formed an illusory defensive barrier. But the next moment, the defensive barrier shattered. From the talisman's self-activation to the explosion of the formed barrier, everything happened in the blink of an eye. Even for divinity transformation monarchs, they were somewhat dumbfounded at that moment. What just happened? This? The leading divinity transformation stage cultivator, as if he realized something, his face showed a look of terror. The symbol talisman of the refined void stage. Generally, there are two ways to use it. One is active activation, which is offensive. The other is passive defense, which activates itself when facing an irresistible threat, forming a defensive barrier. This method, even when facing an attack from an ancient saint of the same level, could withstand for a moment. However, just now, the defensive barrier formed by the symbol talisman of the refined void stage lasted only a moment. The leading divinity transformation monarch trembled. He instinctively looked towards the sky. Between heaven and earth, an ancient and vast breath had emerged at some unknown time, overshadowing the sun and the sky. This divinity transformation monarch could vaguely see that above the vault of heaven, under that bright moon, a figure emitting yin energy almost merging with the moon appeared. This figure, though under the bright moon, seemed to encompass the entire moon. He had his left hand behind his back and his right hand stretched downward, as if to crush a few ants, but seemed to be momentarily halted by some obstruction. Chapter 258 Ancient Saint of Refinement Void. Merely SOSO. Seeking subscriptions. The bright moon hung high. The power of Tai-yin permeated the air. Lin Yuan looked down, gazing at those Mahayana phase heaven lords with weak knees. Following behind Jun Dongjin and the others, the Tai-yin primordial spirit's perception was vast. It detected an ambush from tens of thousands of miles away. Thus, he arrived ahead of time, planning to crush them with ease. It was just that the power of the symbol talisman of the ethereal refinement stage was still within Lin Yuan's expectations. Could it really block his attack for a moment? The immortal cultivation system does have its unique advantages. Thoughts churned through Lin Yuan's mind, such as the talismanic path that could preserve the power of an ancient saint of refinement void almost perfectly intact. The mysteries involved left Lin Yuan somewhat astounded. Boom! At that moment, in the center of the central divine continent, a terrifying aura suddenly erupted. A light that emitted immeasurable brightness and immeasurable catastrophes descended in an instant, and a mirror light incarnation condensed. Then it directly delivered a strike towards Lin Yuan. This strike subtly caused the surrounding space to stiffen, its fearsome power sweeping across every inch of air. A common divinity transformation stage Heaven Lord, or even the great prince of the barbaric demon Saint Nest if resurrected, would risk perishing directly if they dared to resist this attack outright, its might suggesting it was close to the pinnacle of hollow void realm of the ethereal refinement stage. Tai Hao Immortal Mirror? Troublesome. Lin Yuan's brows knitted slightly. He had been very careful just now to contain his power, yet he was still detected by the Tai Hao Immortal Mirror, which descended directly. However, it might not be the Tai Hao Immortal Mirror sensing Lin Yuan's intervention. Perhaps it was the shattering of that symbol talisman of the ethereal refinement stage that caused the Tai Hao Immortal Realm to sense something. Rustling. Lin Yuan retreated a step. With his sleeves fluttering, he nonchalantly blocked the strike that almost reached the pinnacle of the hollow void realm of the ethereal refinement stage. Invisible shocks spread out in all directions, and had the clash of powers between these two ancient saints not been intentionally contained, thousands of miles of the land would already have begun to crack. Thousands of miles away, Jun Dongjin and the others, riding a jade chariot treasure, approached slightly and immediately detected the clash of ancient saint powers. Are two ancient saints fighting? One of them is the sect master, but who is the other? Jun Dongjin was greatly surprised. There were only a handful of refinement void ancient saints in the world, each with a distinguished reputation. Where is it? Jun Dongjin looked up at the sky and saw two figures confronting each other. The one on the left, surrounded by immortal light, was none other than the mirror incarnation of the immortal sect leader, Mu Qinglu. The figure on the right, with fluttering sleeves and blurred face, stood under the bright moon, their presence as vast as the moon itself. The power of Tai-yin. Could it be the ghost cultivator king from the Nether Palace? Jun Dongjin speculated in his heart. Of all ancient saints, only the ghost cultivator king's aura came closest to this figure. Father, what is that? Jun Jilan seemed to have discovered something and whispered while pointing in a certain direction. Following her gaze, Jun Dongjin saw several divinity transformation stage Heaven Lords trembling in a hidden corner. These Heaven Lords were pale-faced and lacked even the courage to flee. Who are they? Jun Dongjin observed carefully. In the central divine continent, including the East Sea, the Barbarian Wilderness, the Blood Demon Sea, and the Nether Palace, there were several known strong individuals who had reached the divinity transformation stage. The aura of a symbol talisman of the ethereal refinement stage. Jun Dongjin's expression turned solemn. He vaguely sensed the aura of a symbol talisman of the ethereal refinement stage around these terror-stricken divinity transformation stage Heaven Lords. A symbol talisman of the ethereal refinement stage. In today's world, only the Dowd Immortal sect could make such a thing. It's not that having the strength of the refining void period allows you to leave behind a talisman of that stage. Creating one requires a specific level of talent in talismanic paths, and a certain core material of the talisman is unique to the Dowd Immortal sect. That is to say, the faint aura of the symbol talisman of the ethereal refinement stage that Jun Dongjin sensed could only come from the Dowd Immortal sect. This symbol talisman of the ethereal refinement stage must belong to the 21st generation sect master of the immortal sect, Mu Shoujua. Jun Dongjin thought silently to himself. Each ancient saint was unique, and a symbol talisman of the ethereal refinement stage bears the full force strike of one such saint. Therefore, just by the aura of the talisman, one could distinguish which ancient saint it was from, especially with the Taoed immortal sect's heritage spanning hundreds of thousands of years. Every sect leader who reached the level of an ancient saint of refinement void was enshrined and worshipped by countless disciples of the sect. The Mu family's symbol talisman of the ethereal refinement stage. Jun Dongjin's feelings were mixed. The Mu family, as one of the three main veins of the immortal sect, had produced more than one sect leader of the ethereal refinement period. Mu Shoujua, the 21st generation sect master, and Mu Qinglu, the current 30th generation sect master. Both came from the Mu family. Jun Dongjin was no fool. On the Vast Cliff ancient path, a necessary route to Vast Cliff Mountain, several divinity transformation stage heaven lords lay in ambush, holding symbol talismans of the ethereal refinement stage in hand. What do they intend to do? Sect master. Jun Dongjin sighed softly in his heart. He knew these people were definitely not arranged by the sect master. If the sect master wanted to kill him, there was no need for such trouble. Suppression with the Taihao immortal mirror would suffice. There was no point in wasting a symbol talisman of the ethereal refinement stage. But if it wasn't the sect master's doing, it was done by someone from the Mu family. And it would have been one of the Mu family's high-ranking members, as no one else could have taken a reflecting void symbol talisman that belonged to their ancestor. Does Mu Mengting want to eliminate me root and branch? Jun Dongjin felt somewhat disheartened for a moment. He admitted there was competition between him and Mu Mengting, the two frequently clashing. But that was all out in the open. It's normal for disciples of the immortal sect to have disagreements, but now Mu Mengting was actually making a move to kill. Chapter 259, The Ancient Saint of Refined Void. Just SOSO? Subscribe please. _2. Beneath the high sky, the immortal sect leader Mu Qinglu, with the aid of the Taihao immortal mirror, descended in a mirror incarnation and gazed solemnly at Lin Yuan. From the brief exchange they just had, Mu Qinglu inferred that the strength of the formidable individual before him was at least at the peak of the hollow void realm. Though his true self hadn't descended, the area was still within the bounds of the central divine continent, enveloped by the might of the Taihao immortal mirror. The avatar descended by the mirror's light would require, at the very least, a cultivator of the refinement void Dongshu layer to withstand. And the fact that Lin Yuan could so effortlessly block that strike indicated that he possessed, at a minimum, the combat power of someone at the peak of the hollow void realm. Who exactly are you? Mu Qinglu scrutinized Lin Yuan, noting the similarity between his aura and that of the ghost cultivator king from the ghost palace of Netherworld. Both were of the power of Taiyin. However, Mu Qinglu keenly sensed a difference. Compared to the ghost cultivator king, the aura emanating from Lin Yuan was much purer, almost as though he was an incarnation of the infinite power of Taiyin itself. Who I am is not important. What's interesting is the overt and covert struggles within your immortal sect. Lin Yuan glanced at the trembling Mahayana phase heaven lords below and the jade carriage artifact that had stopped in the distance. Overt and covert struggles? Mu Qinglu internally sighed. The moment he descended, after sensing the presence of the symbol talisman of the ethereal refinement stage, he had already figured out most of the situation. Mu Qinglu could never have imagined that Mu Mengting had such a small-mindedness. Even though he had sent Jun Dongjin's family to the remote Vast Cliff Mountain, far from the immortal sect's power core, Mu Mengting still harbored such wariness toward Jun Dongjin, daring to strike en route. This is an internal matter of the immortal sect, which should be irrelevant to you, Mu Qinglu said with a composed expression. In truth, he had been keeping tabs on Jun Dongjin's whereabouts all along. Even if Lin Yuan hadn't intervened, the very instant those Mahayana heavenly monarchs activated the symbol talisman of the ethereal refinement stage, he would have been alerted. For Mu Qinglu, his concern rested with the overall direction of the Taoed immortal sect. Jun Dongjin possessed a talent rarely seen, and even if he couldn't become the sect master, He was someone that could be of significant use and absolutely must not die. In fact, whether one becomes the sect master of the immortal sect is not of utmost importance. As long as one can step into the refined void stage and wield the founding artifact of the sect, one would be invincible in this world. As for the ultimate stages within the refining void period, entering void, hollow void, or refined void, there isn't any fundamental difference. This was also the reason why, despite knowing that Jun Dongjin had higher potential than Mu Mengting, the latter was still chosen. Mu Mengting was also born with a heavenly spiritual root, and with many foundations within the immortal sect like the 9 heavens glazed water and other treasures, there shouldn't be any problem breaking through to the refining void stage. To put it simply, the advantage of talent held by Jun Dongjin was not indispensable. But the advantage that Mu Mengting had, which stemmed from being part of the Mu family, was something Jun Dongjin lacked. If this generation of the Mu family did not have a talented disciple like Mu Mengting, Mu Qinglu, for the future of the immortal sect, would definitely choose to cultivate Jun Dongjin as the next sect master. Daring to meddle in the affairs of my immortal sect, I'd like to see on what grounds you do so. Mu Qinglu raised his right hand, and an illusory image of a mirror appeared. It was the projection of the Taihao immortal mirror, the founding artifact of the sect. Mu Qinglia's true body, together with the genuine Taihao immortal mirror, resided at Mount Morality Immortal and were not to emerge lightly. However, the avatar reflected by the mirror light and the mirror's projection could descend to any place in this world. Especially within the range of the central divine continent, it could retain the power of the refinement void stage. Boom! In an instant, Mu Qinglu struck once more. To the 9 heavens, Lin Yuan's form vanished, and when he reappeared, he had already traversed tens of thousands of meters to reach the high heavens. Ancient saints of this realm who engage in battle typically take the 9 heavens as their battleground. The space here is more vast, allowing ancient saints to unleash their full power. In the north of the divine continent, the blood demon sea stirred, its blood-red waters rippling gently. On a secluded island deep within, the master of the blood demon's expression subtly changed. Ancient saints clashing in the 9 heavens? The blood demon master looked up, gazing toward a certain direction. A casual blow from an ancient saint can shake the heavens and the earth, let alone a battle between two such beings? Such fluctuations in aura, while perhaps imperceptible to lower-level cultivators, would be unmistakably clear to anyone in the refining void stage, with no detail overlooked. Is it that old fellow Mu Qinglu? It should only be his mirror incarnation, but since the location is within the central divine continent, even if it's just a mirror incarnation, it still possesses the combat power of the peak of the hollow void realm. Which ancient saint would dare to make a move here against Mu Qinglu? The blood demon master was somewhat in disbelief. Normally, no ancient saint would willingly engage Mu Qinglu within the bounds of the central divine continent, because that wouldn't be a normal fight. Mu Qinglu, with the founding artifact of the sect in hand, is invincible in this world, and his combat and killing power surpass the limits of the refining void stage. As for the avatar created from the mirror's light, it might be weaker, but what would be the point in battling with an avatar? Having paid a huge price to win, Mu Qinglu only lost an avatar, which would recover in half an hour with the power of the founding artifact of the sect. If he had lost, then he would have been chased and beaten by the mirror avatar, devoid of any dignity befitting an ancient saint. This aura, the power of Tai Yin, is it that old Yin god? Wasn't the Yin god quite cowardly before? How come he has such courage this time? The blood demon prime god was surprised. Barbaric demon Saint Nest. The colossal ape demon saint also felt the fluctuations of an ancient saint-level battle. Rare indeed. That old Yin god, he actually made a move this time? The ape demon saint clicked his tongue in amazement. For beings like them, there wasn't much entertainment, but they would definitely pay attention to a battle at their level. South of Divine Continent, Ghost Palace of Netherworld, a gaunt man sat on the throne. Feeling the fluctuations of an ancient saint-level fight, he fell into contemplation. The gaunt man's eyebrows were tightly furrowed. The aura of the ancient saint battling with Mu Qinglu did indeed somewhat resemble his, but it was just that, similar. Ghost cultivators wield the power of Taiyin, but they also encompass the Yuming death chi. However, that figure was entirely powered by the power of Taiyin, and its power of Taiyin was much purer, to the extent that even a refinement void layer ghost cultivator like the Gaunt Man couldn't compare. Who exactly is it? The Gaunt Man immediately contacted the Blood Demon Prime God and the Demon Saint of the Nest, clarifying that he hadn't battled with Mu Qinglu and inquiring about the identity of the battling ancient saint. Cloud mist blessed land. Lin Yuan lay lazily on the top floor of a mountain loft. At the same time, he was paying attention to the movements of the Dowd Immortal sect. Cloud mist blessed land wasn't far from the Dowd Immortal sect, only tens of thousands of miles away, and Lin Yuan's current perceptive abilities could easily cover that distance. Lin Yuan faintly sensed the shifting qi in the Dowd Immortal sect. Mu Qinglu, holding the founding artifact of the sect, wanted to send the true body of the immortal artifact to the 9 heavens, to thoroughly detain that mysterious Taiyin ancient saint. The consciousness synchronized. In the 9 heavens above, Lin Yuan's Yin God glanced in the direction of the Dowd Immortal sect, repelled Mu Qinglu with one strike. His figure dispersed, turning into wisps of the power of Taiyin, vanishing between heaven and earth. Ran away? Mu Qinglius' expression was ugly. He had been thinking about joining with his true form to deliver a fatal blow to this mysterious ancient saint. The opponent had run away? Is it a coincidence, or? Mu Qinglius' expression was grave as he too disappeared from sight. The battle between Lin Yuan and Mu Qinglu had a significant impact on Central Divine Continent, as well as the Blood Demon Sea, Nether Palace, and Barbarian East Sea. This was an ancient saint-level battle, which might not occur even once in many years. Refining void ancient saints, there were only a few in the entire world, and under the suppression of the Dowd Immortal sect, the ancient saints rarely took action. Not to mention that one of the participating ancient saints this time was Mu Qinglu, the sect master of the Dowd Immortal sect. East Sea, Bayou Island. The numerous disciples of Bayou Island were also discussing the matter of the ancient saints' battle. Have you heard? In the 9 heavens above Central Divine Continent, there was a battle between ancient saints not long ago. Ancient saints? Refining void ancient saints? Good heavens, even such beings would engage in combat? It's unclear, but one of the refining void ancient saints involved in the battle is the sect master of the Dowd Immortal sect, who has already stepped into the hollow void realm. I heard that the piece of 9 heavens where the 2 ancient saints fought, the gang winds tore apart, and the murderous intent belonging to the ancient saints hasn't dissipated even now. Ordinary Mahayana heavenly monarchs don't dare to get close. That's a refining void ancient saint. It's a good thing the battlefield was in the 9 heavens. If it were in Central Divine Continent TSK. Refining void ancient saints, I wonder when we'll get to see such powerhouses for ourselves. On Bayou Island, many disciples conversed in low voices during their rest, their tones filled with longing. At the core area of Bayou Island, Lin Yuan sat cross-legged. The conversations of the disciples on the island naturally couldn't escape his attention. Refining void ancient saints? Lin Yuan slowly stood up, walked outside, and casually sat on a huge rock, glancing in the direction of the Dowd Immortal sect in Central Divine Continent, and smiled faintly. Merely so. Chapter 260 Jun Wuji. I know your big secret, 4,700 words. Please subscribe. It's just that founding artifact of the sect. Lin Yuan had a slightly grave expression. Up to now, Lin Yuan had encountered the Taihao immortal instruments twice. The first time was during the grand ceremony of the ethereal void, where Lin Yuan and his parents went to Mount Morality Immortal to congratulate Mu Qinglu. During that period, Lin Yuan's yang spirit had annihilated the forces of the Black Gauze Archipelago, causing the plans of the Dowd Immortal sect to fail, which infuriated Mu Qinglu, who directly activated the Taihao immortal instrument and descended in incarnation upon the Eastern Sea Islands. The second time was not long ago when Lin Yuan, using his Yin God, battled with an incarnation of the mirror light for a while and felt the true power of the Taihao immortal mirror. Through these 2 encounters, Lin Yuan determined that the tier of Taihao immortal realm must surpass the refining void period. That is, above the refining void period, a treasure of the Unity Path stage. The Unity Path stage, had already surpassed the limits of this world. Only in the legendary spirit realm did such mighty beings exist. Spirit realm. Lin Yuan's expression sank into brief contemplation. There were rumors that the Taoed Immortal sect holds the ascension platform that leads from this world to the spirit realm. Successive immortal sect leaders, after managing the Taoed Immortal sect for 10 to 20,000 years, would disappear without a trace, precisely through the ascension platform to the fabled spirit realm. Of course, such a claim had no basis, and probably only the immortal sect leader of the Taoed Immortal sect knew the truth. Perhaps the refinement void ghost king of the ghost palace of Netherworld, the lord of the blood demon sea, and the demon saint of the demon saint's nest also knew something. It's irrelevant. With just another 200 years to cultivate to the peak of the 6th rank, or even break through to the 7th rank, no secrets would be secrets before me. Lin Yuan shook his head slightly. Now, he needed not pry into the secrets of the spirit realm or ascension. There was no significance in doing so. It was better to focus all his time on cultivation. First to become invincible under the heavens, then see. Taoed Immortal Sect. Sect Master Mu Qinglu sat aloft. Mu Mengting knelt below, his face pale and his expression filled with fear. He had never thought that after using the treasured symbol talisman of the ethereal refinement stage from the Mu family's collection, he still failed to kill Jun Dongjin. Not only had he failed to kill him, but the sect master noticed it immediately. Now, having expended an extremely precious symbol talisman of the ethereal refinement stage and Jun Dongjin not being dead meant that he, Mu Mengting, was not the sole candidate for the succession of the immortal sect. Mu Qinglu had other options, such as reusing Jun Dongjin. If that were the case, it would mean that Mu Mengting was completely out of favor with the sect master. Do you know where you went wrong? Mu Qinglu looked at Mu Mengting, his eyes showing disappointment. He had not expected Mu Mengting to lack such resolution and utterly devoid of tolerance. Sect master, I should not have acted against a fellow sect member. I shouldn't have acted against Jun Dongjin. Mu Mengting immediately admitted his mistake. Since Mu Qinglu had called him aside alone and personally mentioned the matter, Mu Mengting realized that his antics could not have gone undetected. If that was the case, it was better to openly admit his wrongdoing. Perhaps there was still a chance for things to turn around. After all, his relationship with Mu Qinglu was far from being as simple as that of a sect master and a disciple. Incorrect. You erred in that you acted too soon, and too hastily. Mu Qinglu looked at Mu Mengting and spoke indifferently. When he took over as the leader of the immortal sect, he too had used some tactics, so Mu Mengting's preemptive actions to eliminate competitors were not uncommon. It was what Mu Qinglu had left over from his own strategies. However, such actions required restraint. With Jun Dongjin being transferred away from Mount Morality Immortal and distanced from the epicenter of power, his abilities being decent and his distinction between public and private affairs clear, it was far more useful to let him live than to have him dead. Ah! Mu Mengting looked baffled. He originally thought that the sect master would chastise his actions, but instead, it seemed that the sect master thought he had been too hasty. When you reach the refining void period, you will realize how laughable those former struggles were. Be it Jun Dongjin or anyone else, they are all pawns in your hands. Killing them is like weakening your own power, Mu Qinglu said calmly. This was also his greatest realization after stepping into the refining void period. From the perspective of an ancient saint, how ridiculous were some past actions. Having absolute power rendered everything subordinate. Mu Mengting's eyes widened. When Mu Qinglu mentioned, when you reach the refining void period, Mu Mengting trembled. What did the sect master mean? What was this about stepping into the refining void period? The order to transfer Dongjin to Vast Cliff Mountain. Could you not discern that I had already chosen you as the next sect master? Mu Qinglu said blandly. Sect master. Mu Qinglu was extremely agitated in his mind. Indeed, when Jun Dongjin received the transfer order, he had indeed thought that Jun Dongjin had been eliminated from the list of candidates for sect master. But Mu Mengting could only speculate, never sure whether his thoughts were true or false. What if Jun Dongjin was only being sent away for a while and came back soon? Thus, For the sake of certainty, Mu Mengting decided to take a risky move. From his high seat, Mu Qinglu looked at Mu Mengting, whose emotions were overflowing, and sighed internally again. Mu Mengting really was not as good as Jun Dongjin. But who could blame Mu Mengting for being his offspring? Actually, with the centuries-old foundation of the Daoed Immortal Sect, it made little difference who became the sect master. Even if Jun Dongjin became the sect master, he wouldn't be able to flatten the Blood Demon Sea, Nether Palace, or Demon Saint's Nest. Even if Mu Mengting was somewhat inferior, becoming the sect master wouldn't mean a significant reduction in the Daoed Immortal Sect's power. The strong foundation of the Daoed Immortal Sect persisted. Even if a pig became the sect master, as long as he possessed the cultivation of the refining void period and held the Taihao Immortal Mirror, he could still slaughter widely. Chapter 261 Jun Wuji. I know your big secret, 4,700 words. Please subscribe, _2. In this world, the Daoed Immortal Sect is a major force. Do you still want to kill Jun Dongjin? Mu Qinglu glanced at Mu Mengting and asked. No, Sect Master. I can swear that I will not lay a hand on Jun Dongjin. Mu Mengting said without hesitation. As long as he could become an ancient saint of refined void and become the leader of the Immortal Sect. What would Jun Dongjin count for then? At this moment, Mu Mengting had vaguely understood the mentality that Mu Qinglu had mentioned. Even Jun Dongjin, whom he once regarded as a major threat, would eventually serve him and guard the great business of the Immortal Sect for him. In such a situation, Mu Mengting would rather see more talents like Jun Dongjin emerge. Why kill them? Wuji is Jun Dongjin's younger son, lacking the spirit root, and seldom leaves the cloud mist-blessed land, posing no threat to you. Mu Qinglu once again spoke. Sect Master, you underestimate me too much. How could I, Mu Mengting, lay a hand on Wuji? Mu Mengting said immediately with a serious expression. And that was indeed the truth. Over the years, Mu Mengting had regarded Jun Dongjin, even Mu Lianer, Jun Xiaoyao, and Jun Zhilan as threats. He was wary even of the younger generation. But he had never regarded Wuji as a threat. A cripple without even a spirit root, what is there to be wary of? That's why Mu Mengting had never made any moves against Cloud Mist Blessed Land. Because it simply wasn't necessary. That's good then. Wuji is also pitiful. Mu Qinglu nodded. After all, he was Wuji's maternal grandfather. Knowing that Wuji had no spirit root since childhood, although no one dared to bully him, he was extremely sensitive inside. Otherwise, why would a normal person hide in the Cloud Mist Blessed Land and hardly ever come out in decades? As long as Wuji is there, the Cloud Mist Blessed Land is his, and no one can touch it. Upon hearing the implications from Mu Qinglu, Mu Mengting immediately assured. Since that is so, Mu Qinglu nodded slightly. Come with me. I will show you the biggest secret of our Daoed Immortal Sect. The buffer zone between the barbarian wilderness and Central Earth, that mysterious refined void body cultivator, and recently that mysterious ancient saint, who emanated the power of Taiyin and whose power was at the hollow void peak. These two seemingly out-of-nowhere ancient saints of refined void added another layer of pressure on Mu Qinglia's heart. The pressure here. It's not about the Daoed Immortal Sect facing the risk of collapse or anything of that sort, but rather, he was worried that these ancient saints, together with those three old fellows, might stir up another great war in the central divine continent. Indeed, no matter the scale of the great war, it would not affect the rule of the Daoed Immortal Sect. Relying on Mount Morality Immortal and the Taihao Immortal Mirror, the sect was as solid as a rock. But it was annoying, just as if there were originally only 3 flies flying around, and now a few more appeared. And battles at the ancient saint level could easily fracture the central divine continent, which the Daoed Immortal Sect had long considered as their own dominion. Therefore, the Daoed Immortal Sect must soon have a second ancient saint of refined void. 2 ancient saints of refined void, one stationed in Mount Morality Immortal, one holding the Taihao Immortal Realm, stepping out of the Immortal Mountain, to sweep away any potential enemies. Vast Cliff Mountain. Jun Dongjin, Mu Lianer, Jun Xiaoyao, and Jun Zhilan were gathered in a cave dwelling. We might not be able to return anytime soon, Jun Dongjin sighed. He had come to realize that the sect master's decision to transfer him away from Mount Morality Immortal was to pave the way for Mu Mengting. That is to say, the future leader of the Daoed Immortal sect, the Ancient Saint, had already been decided. It would be Mu Mengting. The future of Jun Dongjin now needed to be determined by Mu Mengting. Father, Mu Lianer looked dejected. Mu Qinglu had ultimately chosen someone from the Mu family to be the sect master. This decision was somewhat expected, for even beings as elevated as the Ancient Saint of Refined Void cannot be utterly impartial, having human emotions. Abandoning Jun Dongjin to choose Mu Mengting. It was not a strange occurrence. It's good that Wuji did not come with us to endure these hardships. Jun Jilan spoke softly. Cloud Mist Blessed Land had the effect of extending life. Wuji did not possess a spirit root, and body cultivation did not substantially increase lifespan. So, staying in Cloud Mist Blessed Land, Wuji could easily live for a few hundred years. If he were to consume any life-extending elixirs, perhaps he could live for a millennium. But if he had left Cloud Mist Blessed Land and come to this vast cliff mountain with them, his lifespan would definitely be sharply reduced, dropping to that of an ordinary person. Time slowly passed. In the blink of an eye, 100 years had passed. Over these 100 years, the situation in Central Divine Continent gradually became unstable. Blood Demon Sea, Demon Saint's Nest, and Nether Palace conspired in secret, desiring to incite another great war in Central Divine Continent. The only disappointment for the Blood Demon Sea, Demon Saint's Nest, and Nether Palace was the two mysterious ancient saints who had once appeared. One was an ancient saint of body cultivation. The other was an ancient saint of the power of Taiyin. They had not shown themselves again. If they could ally with these two ancient saints, their chances of inciting a great war in Central Divine Continent would greatly increase. Cloud Mist Blessed Land. Cultivation Chamber. Finally, Lin Yuan was seated cross-legged, a smile appearing on his face. Over 100 years, Lin Yuan, apart from routinely practicing enlightenment, had been attempting to thoroughly understand the essential nature of that physical body divine ability, blood rebirth. This physical body divine ability was extremely complex and involved many aspects, and even though Lin Yuan possessed against heaven's understanding, it had taken him 100 years to barely grasp it. With this, even if I return to the main world, I can use this divine skill. Lin Yuan's mind was pleased. Blood rebirth had miraculous effects for preserving life, and naturally, the more such methods, the better. It's just a pity that this divine skill cannot be widely disseminated. It will operate differently according to each individual's body constitution. I spent 100 years using my main world physical body as a template, and the blood rebirth techniques that I've comprehended can only be applied to the physical bodies in the main world. Chapter 262 Jun Wuji. I know your big secret, 4,700 words. Please subscribe, _3. Lin Yuan's expression held a tinge of regret. He had originally planned to sell this divine skill to the goddess of wisdom, but it now seemed unfeasible. Although Lin Yuan felt some disappointment, he quickly adjusted his mindset. The higher the level and the more powerful the divine gift, the greater its restrictions. In the main world universe Starry Sky, some special secret technique heritages possess uniqueness. That is to say, in the same era, only one life can master this kind of secret technique heritage. This is an ironclad rule of the main world. Even if you have fully comprehended the secret technique heritage, you still cannot use it. Blood Demon Sea. The Blood Demon Master sat on an island deep within. After more than 100,000 years, I can finally stir up a great war in the Central Divine Continent again. The Blood Demon Master's expression was one of excitement. 120,000 years ago, he had instigated a great war in the Central Divine Continent alongside the Demon Saint's Nest and Nether Palace. However, he was utterly defeated at the time and had only just recovered over the past few thousand years. Daoed Immortal Sect occupying the Ascension platform has forced us to remain in this realm. The Blood Demon Master muttered to himself. Master! At this moment, A blood-colored figure condensed above the Blood Demon Sea and bowed towards the Blood Demon Master. The central divine continent is filled with formations laid by the Dowd Immortal Sect. If we want to enter the central divine continent with minimal losses, we need to ascertain the specific locations of these formations and other details. The blood-colored figure spoke softly. "What is your plan?" The Blood Demon Master went straight to the point. "There are not many in the Dowd Immortal Sect who are privy to these formations, one of them being Jun Dongjin." The blood-colored figure implied meaningfully. "It has been no secret that Jun Dongjin was assigned to Vast Cliff Mountain over the last century. The next sect master of the Dowd Immortal Sect was almost certainly going to be Mu Mengting. Jun Dongjin had already become an expendable piece for the Dowd Immortal Sect. Subordinates believe that Jun Dongjin can be won over. If he can be made to serve us, invading the central divine continent would be much easier." The blood-colored figure continued. "Indeed." The Blood Demon Master nodded slightly. He could guess that Jun Dongjin probably harbored deep resentment towards the Dowd Immortal Sect. Now was the right time to win him over. But one thing must be kept in mind. Jun Dongjin cannot be directly won over. Surely the Dowd Immortal Sect has laid plans near Vast Cliff Mountain. The Blood Demon Master spoke up. "So the Master wants to?" The blood-colored figure inquired softly. "Approach Jun Dongjin's young son, Jun Wuji. Then, through Jun Wuji, we can lure Jun Dongjin without fail and avoid the detection of any abnormalities by the Dowd Immortal Sect." The Blood Demon Master put forth. "Master is wise." The blood-colored figure, after pondering for a moment, was filled with admiration. Directly winning over Jun Dongjin indeed bore great risks. Jun Dongjin, having once been a high-ranking official of the Dowd Immortal Sect, would undoubtedly still be protected by many means, even though he was no longer in favor. By attempting to win over Jun Dongjin, they would essentially be informing the Dowd Immortal Sect of their intentions. On the contrary, Jun Dongjin's son, Wuji, held much less prominence. Moreover, Cloud Mist Blessed Land was located right next to the Dowd Immortal Sect. Hidden in plain sight applied here, it was likely that the Dowd Immortal Sect would never suspect their interest in Wuji. Remember, when dealing with Jun Wuji, never use force. We must threaten or promise great wealth. The Blood Demon Master reminded. At the same time, he opened his palm and a blood-red crystal appeared. Carrying this object will allow you to temporarily evade the surveillance of the Taihao Immortal Mirror, the Blood Demon Master declared. After fighting with the Dowd Immortal Sect numerous times over hundreds of thousands of years, the Blood Demon Master had naturally accumulated some measures against the Dowd Immortal Sect, especially that Taihao Immortal Mirror. However, the means of evading the Taihao Immortal Mirror surveillance came at a great cost to the Blood Demon Master, and there were numerous limitations. Couldn't be widely disseminated. Cloud Mist Blessed Land. At the top of the mountain within a pavilion, Lin Yuan lay in a chaise lounge, leisurely basking in the sun. "You may leave." Lin Yuan waved his hand. "Yes." Chunhua and Chuyue bowed and exited. Time passed unknowingly. In the shadow of the pavilion, a blood-colored figure appeared soundlessly. "Jun Wuji." The blood-colored figure approached Lin Yuan, voice hoarse and deep. "I know your great secret." The blood-colored figure gazed at Jun Wuji intently. "Great secret?" Lin Yuan was momentarily startled. He had already detected the presence of the blood-colored figure. The ability to infiltrate Central Divine Continent and Cloud Mist Blessed Land came from a special aura exuding from the figure's body. Originally, Lin Yuan wanted to see if the blood-colored figure's intrusion was due to a specific matter. But hearing the figure openly claim to know his great secret, he couldn't help but be surprised. "Great secret? Which great secret do you refer to?" Lin Yuan asked solemnly. "Which great secret?" The blood-colored figure was somewhat confused. Could it be that this Jun Wuji had many secrets? And they had to ask about which great secret? Chapter 263 Taiyang Ancient Saint. Standing tall and upright, please subscribe. "Wuji, are you joking? What great secret are you talking about?" The blood-colored figure let out a cold laugh. feeling that Wuji was being pretentious. He had been ordered by the master of the Blood Demon Sea to cozy up to Wuji, aiming to win over Jun Dongjin, a former high-ranking member of the Dowd Immortal Sect, through Wuji. Having been abandoned by the Dowd Immortal Sect, Jun Dongjin must be harboring resentments. With a sufficiently attractive offer from the Blood Demon Sea, the probability of success was high. To ensure Jun Dongjin's complete allegiance, there must be no coercion in winning over Wuji. Otherwise, how could Jun Dongjin not harbor mistrust when he sees the Blood Demon Sea treating his youngest son in such a manner? Coercion was not an option. Therefore, they could only promise significant benefits or engage in semi-threatening tactics. The blood-colored figure, prior to his infiltration into the Central Divine Continent, had meticulously reviewed all the intelligence related to Wuji. He did in fact unearth a secret concerning Wuji. "I really want to know what this great secret is," Lin Yuan said earnestly. His own secrets were far too numerous, and he wasn't certain which one the blood-colored figure was referring to at the moment. Was it from 100 or 200 years ago when he casually annihilated the hidden operatives of the Dowd Immortal Sect in the Black Gauze Archipelago, over a dozen Mahayana heavenly monarchs and more than 50 nascent soul true monarchs? Or was it his ascension to the realm of ancient saint in body cultivation, unheard of in the Central Divine Continent for tens of thousands of years, and how he had crushed the great emperor of the demon saints' nest, who was said to rival ancient saints, underfoot several times? Or perhaps it was about him, in the guise of the Tai-Yin primordial spirit, battling the Taoist immortal sect master Mu Qinglu in the Nine Heavens, escaping unscathed in the end? Additionally, there was the master Yuanyang from the East Sea, who was not the half-step ancient saint the world believed he was. Humph! The blood-colored figure saw that Lin Yuan seemed truly unaware, so he decided to offer a hint. "Wuji, I assume you're not at the golden core stage in body cultivation," the blood-colored figure whispered. Lin Yuan looked squarely at this blood-colored figure, who he deemed less than an ant in his eyes. 20 years ago, among the cultivation resources you had your subordinates purchase from outside, there were ancient hidden flowers. Those are cultivation resources needed by body cultivators at the nascent soul stage. Your realm in body cultivation must have already reached the nascent soul stage. The blood-colored figure spoke confidently, holding a winning hand. This was his trump card for threatening Wuji. In just a short 100 to 200 years, Wuji had advanced from being a cripple to the nascent soul stage in body cultivation. Such body cultivation talent meant that stepping into the divinity transformation stage would pose no issues in the future. If this revelation had occurred over 100 years ago, it wouldn't have been a problem, but now, with Wuji's parents assigned to Vast Cliff Mountain, it was akin to losing their backing in the Dowd Immortal Sect. Moreover, with Mu Mengting's rise to power, if he learned of a rival's son possessing such potential, wouldn't he harbor other thoughts? And this was the blood-colored figure's biggest bargaining chip. It was information sourced from within the Dowd Immortal Sect, and it could also provoke Wuji's resentment towards Mu Mengting. Several gains in one fell swoop. Oh! Lin Yuan was expressionless. He had thought that the blood-colored figure really discovered some significant secret. Turned out it was about this matter. Lin Yuan indeed had the habit of instructing his subordinates to periodically purchase cultivation resources from the outside. But that was for show for outsiders. As for the ancient hidden flowers mentioned by the blood-colored figure, Choyue must have bought them casually. After speaking, the blood-colored figure, who had been full of anticipation and wanted to see Wuji's face contorted with fear, was expecting a panic at the revelation of his secret and possibly even the emergence of a thought to silence him with murder. All of these were within the blood-colored figure's expectations. He even had prepared a corresponding attitude to respond. But to his disappointment, he saw no change of expression on Wuji's face. How could that be? The blood-colored figure's thoughts were in disarray. Is there some other secret? Lin Yuan asked patiently. Isn't this secret significant enough? The blood-colored figure's tone rose a few notches as he spoke. Hiding the strength of a nascent soul stage body cultivator, once exposed, would inevitably draw the attention of Mu Mengting. What would happen then, no one knew. The blood-colored figure's original plan was to leverage this secret to manipulate Wuji. Wuji, as long as you agree to work for us, Mu Mengting won't be able to harm you, and my master will grant you a lifespan far exceeding those of cultivators. The blood-colored figure hurriedly continued when he sensed the situation unfolding unfavorably. To win over Wuji, threats alone weren't enough. Significant benefits must also be promised. The great reward the blood-colored figure could offer was longevity. As is well known, the lifespan of body cultivators is much shorter compared to that of cultivators. However, the master of the blood demon Sea could, through his own methods, transform Wuji into a blood godchild. Bound to the blood demon Sea, blood godchild's lifespan would be terrifyingly extended. Moreover, the life and death of a blood godchild would rest upon a single thought of the master of the blood demon Sea. If Wuji became a blood godchild, he would be completely integrated into the blood demon Sea, unable even to betray it if he wanted. It seems I was overthinking. Lin Yuan shook his head slightly. He had been aware of the blood-colored figure's affiliation with the blood demon Sea. While his aura might deceive others, it couldn't fool Lin Yuan. Lin Yuan initially thought that the blood demon Sea might actually know something. Now, it seemed he was the one overthinking. Even the nearby Dowd immortal sect had not noticed his true identity. The blood demon Sea, far to the north of the divine continent, could actually do very little. Let's see what the master of the blood demon Sea is really up to. Lin Yuan's gaze rested on the blood-colored figure. The reason he had been conversing with the blood-colored figure was because he was worried that the figure might genuinely know something. Now that it was certain the other party understood nothing at all. Chapter 264 Taiyang Ancient Saint. Standing tall and upright, please subscribe, _2. He naturally planned to take direct action. The crimson figure felt puzzled upon hearing this. But the next moment, the crimson figure felt his consciousness rapidly descending. Bang! Streaks of blood light exploded on his body. These were clearly the crimson figure's life-preserving measures. Daring to infiltrate the central divine continent, infiltrating cloud mist-blessed land. How could the crimson figure not have any trump cards? However, all the trump cards, all the life-preserving measures, even the crimson crystal bestowed by the blood demon lord, all rapidly collapsed. In the final moment where the crimson figure's consciousness completely sank, his gaze towards Lin Yuan filled with endless horror. Wrong. He was wrong. The blood demon lord was wrong too. Everyone in the world was mistaken. Jun Wuji, whom they regarded as easy prey, was not as simple as he appeared on the surface. Even the crimson crystal bestowed by the blood demon lord could not withstand a moment. Jun Wuji was at least at the level of an ancient saint. A few breaths later, Lin Yuan had finished browsing through the memories of the crimson figure. So he was planning to provoke a war in central divine continent. Lin Yuan roughly understood the blood demon lord's scheme. Blood demon Sea, demon saint's nest, nether palace. Why do these ancient refined void ancient saints repeatedly want to initiate a major battle in the world of immortal cultivation? Lin Yuan looked thoughtful. With the Taihao immortal mirror stationed by Dowd immortal sect in central divine continent, no matter how great the battle, it couldn't harm its foundation. Blood demon Sea, the blood demon lord, sitting on a small island deep inside, suddenly opened his eyes. Dead? Died so quickly? The blood demon lord found it hard to believe. With the fallbacks he had placed in the crimson figure, even if truly discovered by the Dowd immortal sect, he should have been able to resist for a while. Could it be that Mu Qinglu took action with the Taihao immortal realm in hand? The blood demon lord could only think in this direction. Cloud mist-blessed land. Lin Yuan was still lying on the lounge chair. After dealing with the crimson figure, Lin Yuan began pondering on one issue. My current strength, after 100 years of cultivation, aside from mastering the physical body divine ability blood rebirth, in the martial Tao, Lin Yuan also made significant progress, having advanced the martial Tao cultivation system to the 6th rank 11th level. In the main world and immortal Tao world, the 6th rank corresponds to the refining void period. The refining void period further divides into entering void realm, hollow void realm, refining void realm. Entering Void Realm corresponds with 6th rank 1st to 3rd stage. Hollow Void Realm corresponds with 6th rank 4th to 6th stage. Void Refinement Realm corresponds with 6th rank 7th to 9th stage. Lin Yuan was already at the 6th rank 11th stage, and although he had not reached the 6th rank peak, his realm strength had already surpassed the limits of the Refining Void period. Perhaps he was still not comparable to the Dao integration period above the Refining Void period, but the difference was not very large, at least much stronger than the peak of the Refining Void period's Void Refinement realm. 6th rank peak. Lin Yuan's expression was contemplative. 6th rank 12th stage was not difficult for him. In as few as 10 to 20 years or as many as 50 to 60 years, he could step into it. Lin Yuan was thinking about how to step into the 7th rank. In both the main world and the Immortal Tao world, the transition from 6th rank to 7th rank, as well as from Refining Void to Dao integration, represented a significant threshold. In the main world's Qikuan star domain with 120,000 life planets, accumulating over thousands to tens of thousands of years, the number of 6th rank fallen star warriors exceeded 100,000. But for the 7th rank, even counting the 3 senior brothers of the Qikuan main star, the number of 7th rank evolvers would not exceed 100. Even on the so-called meat grinder of the battlefields of different races, a 7th rank evolver could lead one side, becoming a marquis or a king. Dowd Immortal Sect. In the deepest part of the Mount Morality secret realm, a sudden surge of vast aura flowed out. Within the secret realm, a look of joy emerged on Mu Mengting's face. Refining Void period. This is the Refining Void period. This is the Ancient Saint. Mu Mengting, feeling his mana completely transformed within, was brimming with ambitious dreams. Mu Mengting also had this day. He also had the day to become an Ancient Saint. Sect Master. Mu Mengting took a deep breath. He calmed the excitement in his heart. Stepping out of the secret realm, he respectfully addressed Mu Qinglu. Although now he too was an Ancient Saint of Refined Void, Mu Mengting knew that he was still far behind Sect Master Mu Qinglu. This gap did not stem from strength, but from that founding artifact of the sect, the Taihao Immortal Mirror. Let alone the fact that Mu Mengting was just entering the Refining Void period, even if he stepped into the peak of the Void Refinement realm, deep in Mount Morality Immortal facing Mu Qinglu who was refining the Taihao Immortal Mirror, he would instantly be suppressed. The Taihao Immortal Mirror was not only a powerful immortal artifact, but it was also the hub of the entire Mount Morality Immortal. Whoever possessed the Taihao Immortal Mirror controlled the countless formation methods arranged over tens of thousands of years in Mount Morality Immortal. Rise! Mu Qinglu looked at Mu Mengting, a smile appearing on his face. Although he had long known that with Mu Mengting's talents, stepping into the Refining Void period with the resources of the Dowd Immortal Sect wasn't an issue. But at this moment Mu Qinglu still breathed a sigh of relief. The two settled down. Mu Qinglu then spoke to Mu Mengting about the next plans. With you presiding over the Immortal Sect, I plan to take the Taihao Immortal Mirror and go out for a while. It's been too long, and too many people have forgotten why my Dowd Immortal Sect can control the central divine continent. Mu Qinglia's face showed a hint of coldness. Over the past century, he was not unaware of the movements of Nether Palace, Blood Demon Sea, and Demon Saint's Nest. He simply ignored them temporarily to protect Mu Mengting's path. Now that Mu Mengting had stepped into Refining Void, with him anchoring the Immortal Sect, Mu Qinglu could go out with peace of mind. Although the Dowd Immortal Sect had countless formations for protection, if there were no Ancient Saints presiding, being attacked by other Refined Void Ancient Saints would come at a great cost. This was also why, these past years, his own essence had always presided in Mount Morality Immortal. Chapter 265 Taiyang Ancient Saint. Standing tall and upright, please subscribe _3. As long as he dared to leave Mount Morality Immortal with his true form, whether he planned to confront the Blood Demon Sea or the Demon Saint's Nest of the Nether Palace, the other two sides would certainly strike against Mount Morality Immortal. But now that threat was no longer present. With Mu Mengting, an Ancient Saint, sitting in the Immortal Mountain, even if 3 or 5 Ancient Saints besieged it, they wouldn't be able to shake the foundation of the Dowd Immortal Sect. Thus, Mu Qinglu could take action freely and restore the prestigious name of the Taoed immortal sect above all beings. Sect Master, which side do you plan to move against first? Mu Mengting asked in a low voice. Which side? Mu Qinglu pondered for a moment. Let's start with the East Sea. Over the past century, the development speed of Baiyu Island's White Jade Pavilion was extremely fast, almost having unified the Eastern Sea Islands. And that Master Yuanyang of Baiyu Island was only half an ancient saint. Over the years, even if he had made a breakthrough, it's impossible for him to have entered the refining void period. Given that, with Mu Qinglia's true form plus the Taihao immortal mirror, they would grasp a complete victory over the enemy. On the other hand, should Mu Qinglu choose to make a move against the Nether Palace, the Demon Saint's Nest, or the Blood Demon Sea first, Master Yuanyang would certainly hide upon hearing of it. In the end, the Taoed immortal sect, the Nether Palace, the Demon Saint's Nest, and the Blood Demon Sea were all old adversaries. The latter three had special trump cards, and although Mu Qinglu held the Taihao immortal mirror, he could only suppress them, not kill them. Therefore, taking action against the East Sea was most in line with Mu Qinglia's expectations. The East Sea. That Master Yuanyang of Baiyu Island deserves to die. Mu Mengting nodded and said. Initially, Master Yuanyang had destroyed his beloved Black Gauze archipelago that he had managed for many years. This was a grudge he still remembered to this day. I leave the sect in your hands. After saying these words, Mu Qinglia's figure vanished into the distance. The East Sea. Baiyu Island. Hundreds of thousands of White Jade Pavilion disciples gathered on the island. Moreover, a large number of mortals converged on Baiyu Island. Though called island, it was nearly 2 million li in size, equivalent to several Kanglan stars. If not for the vastness of the central divine continent, Baiyu Island should really be called Baiyu Continent. The core area of Baiyu Island. Lin Yuan was sitting cross-legged. Below him, several disciples were raising cultivation queries, and Lin Yuan was answering them casually. Hundreds of years had passed, the foundation of the White Jade Pavilion had greatly increased. Cultivators at the Martial Tao first rank exceeded 100,000, second rank surpassed 10,000, third rank was more than 2,000, and there were 322 individuals at the fourth stage Martial Tao. There were 8 cultivators at Martial Tao fifth stage. It could be said that the White Jade Pavilion was undoubtedly the first in the Eastern Sea Islands today, and if Lin Yuan wished, uniting the Eastern Sea Islands would be a piece of cake. Lin Yuan seemed to sense something. He looked up toward the sky. On Baiyu Island, countless disciples were either gathering together or wandering alone, studying and cultivating martial Tao techniques. Suddenly, above in the 9 heavens, a round immortal mirror radiating terrifying immortal light bobbed in and out of visibility. As the immortal mirror turned slightly, a beam of terrifying light descended from the 9 heavens. The terrifying nature of the mirror light brought even space itself to a near standstill. Wherever it passed, nature's spiritual energy dissolved into nothingness. It was foreseeable that, if this mirror light were to fall on Baiyu Island, the entire island would be pierced through, this holy land of cultivation completely destroyed. The fallout of the mirror light would lead to the death of all beings below the ancient saint level. What is that? This is bad. Run quickly. It's too late. We're all going to die. Countless White Jade Pavilion disciples looked up at the sky, filled with despair. Beneath the terrifying light of the immortal mirror, there was only one thought in everyone's mind: death. No matter where they ran, it was death. Just then, a figure appeared above Baiyu Island. Instantly taking on a phenomenal size, he was so tall that his height was immeasurable, his force of Taiyang so intense it was like a second sun. The towering figure raised his hand lightly, and Baiyu Island, about the size of several Kanglan stars, was completely protected within the palm of his hand. Chapter 266 Grandpa, what do you want to cooperate with me on? Please subscribe. In the 9 heavens above, Mu Qinglu stood with his hands behind his back. The Taihao immortal mirror hovered above his head. A terrifying beam of light from the mirror was already blasting towards Baiyu Island below. At this moment, Mu Qinglu himself had arrived, carrying the true body of the Taihao immortal mirror. In this realm, Mu Qinglu, was invincible. Erasing Baiyu Island would only require one strike. Master Yuanyang. The light in Mu Kinglius' eyes was indifferent. Master Yuanyang had been a half-step ancient saint over 100 years ago. By now, he must be very close to becoming an ancient saint, but what of it? If not yet an ancient saint, under the beam of the Taihao immortal mirror, he would surely die. Even if he were an ancient saint, unless he was one of those 3 veteran ancient saints from the Nether Palace, Demon Saint's Nest, or Blood Demon Sea, he too would be gravely injured or crushed to death. This was Mu Kinglius' confidence. This was the confidence of the Dowd immortal sect master, who had ruled over the central divine continent for tens of thousands of years. Those 3 old fellows must be quite frightened now, mustn't they? Mu Qinglu glanced in the directions of the other 3, planning to go and reminisce. In his eyes, the fate of Bayou Island below him was already sealed, to disappear into smoke and clouds under the mirror light. However, the next moment Mu Kinglius' expression drastically changed. He suddenly lowered his head to look. A giant of unknown size, towering from earth to sky, raised his hand and shielded Bayou Island, spanning over 1,000,000 miles. The shocking beam emitted by the Taihao immortal mirror, upon touching the back of that majestic figure's hand, quickly dissipated, vanishing completely within a few breaths. What is that? Mu Kinglius' expression turned grave. Master Yuanyang. Mu Qinglu watched as the figure that had stopped the blow from the Taihao immortal mirror quickly returned to normal size, with hands behind his back, his face looking extremely troubled. Ancient saint of refinement void. An ancient saint at the peak of the void refinement realm, even surpassing the limits of the void refinement, beginning to explore the Tao integration stage. Mu Qinglu judged in his mind. The ability to manifest such a massive form surely belonged to a great divine skill. And to block a strike from the Taihao immortal mirror so effortlessly, his strength was unfathomably deep. Mu Qinglu had never anticipated that Master Yuanyang, whom he had considered easy prey, would possess such formidable strength. In the north of Divine Continent, on a small island deep within the Blood Demon Sea, just as Mu Qinglu was utilizing the Taihao immortal mirror to release that terrifying beam of light, the Blood Demon Master suddenly opened his eyes, his expression solemn. Has Mu Qinglu left Mount Morality immortal? Has the Dowd immortal sect birthed a second ancient saint? The Blood Demon Master quickly surmised numerous things. Master Yuanyang is finished. The Blood Demon Master shook his head slightly. By stepping out from Mount Morality immortal, Mu Qinglu was making his first move against Bayou Island, solely to utterly annihilate Master Yuanyang. I told you to join me, but you refused. Now are you dead? The Blood Demon Master shook his head slightly. 100 years ago, when Master Yuanyang occupied Bayou Island, the Lord of Blood Demon had sent his subordinates to persuade Master Yuanyang to join him. After all, there weren't many in the Blood Demon Sea with combat power close to that of an ancient saint. However, back then, Master Yuanyang had directly refused. And now, in the eyes of the current Lord of Blood Demon, Master Yuanyang's decision was a mistake. What a pity! The Lord of Blood Demon shook his head. Master Yuanyang did not come from the Dowd Immortal sect and had no ties with the Blood Demon Sea, Nether Palace, or Demon Saint's Nest. Relying solely on himself, he had cultivated to the brink of the ancient saint realm. If he had been willing to accept the gift from the Lord of Blood Demon and transform into a blood godchild, he might have had a chance to reach the true level of an ancient saint. Something's not right? Just as the Lord of Blood Demon was planning to contact the other 3 ancient saints to discuss how to deal with Mu Qinglu, he suddenly sensed something and abruptly widened his eyes. A strike from Mu Qinglu was blocked? The Lord of Blood Demon's mouth fell open. Although he had not witnessed it in person, through the aura sensing, the earth-shattering mirror light unleashed by Mu Qinglu had not exploded forth but had dissipated into nothingness. At the same time, a terrifying force rivaling the sun, the power of Taiyang, converged. The Taiyang Ancient Saint. An ancient saint nearly surpassing the limit of void refinement? How could Master Yuanyang possibly possess such strength? The Lord of Blood Demon could hardly believe it. Even if Master Yuanyang had broken through to the void refinement realm, the Lord of Blood Demon would be at most shocked, not utterly dumbfounded as he was now. It was not impossible for Master Yuanyang to have broken his shackles and stepped into void refinement 100 years after being on the brink of ancient saint. But now, surpassing the limit of the void refinement period, that was a level touched only by the sect master, who held the Taihao immortal mirror. And Master Yuanyang reached it on his own? How could this be possible? We were wrong. We were all wrong. 100 years ago, Master Yuanyang wasn't just nearly an ancient saint. The thoughts of the Lord of Blood Demon surged fiercely. He suddenly realized that 100 years ago, Master Yuanyang had never claimed to be at the brink of the ancient saint realm. The label of being nearly an ancient saint had always been speculation from the outside world. Surpassing the limit of the void refinement period, could he be a great power from hundreds of thousands of years ago? The Lord of Blood Demon pondered rapidly. Initially, he thought Master Yuanyang was a strong figure born within the last few millennia. Yet, with the combat power and strength demonstrated, how could he have cultivated to this point in just a few thousand years? The Lord of Blood Demon conjectured that Master Yuanyang might hail from 100,000 years ago. Back then, the Taoed Immortal Sect was not the undisputed master of the Central Divine Continent. 100,000 years ago, the Ascension platform had not yet emerged. There were many unfathomable strong figures in the world, some surpassing the limit of void refinement as well. It was not only the Lord of Blood Demon who was shocked. Almost at the same time, the ancient saints from the Demon Saint's Nest and the Nether Palace sensed that Mu Kinglius' original self had taken action with the Taihao Immortal Mirror in hand. Chapter 267 Grandpa, what do you want to cooperate with me on? Please subscribe _2. The Island Master, Master Yuanyang, easily blocked it. Master Yuanyang is so strong? Taoed Immortal Sect, Mu Mengting was also paying attention to the East Sea. He wanted to see with his own eyes how Master Yuanyang would kneel and beg for mercy under the suppression of Mu Qinglu. However, what happened next made his scalp tingle. Mu Qinglu, holding the Taihao Immortal Mirror and deemed invincible, was actually blocked by Master Yuanyang? Above the 9 heavens, Mu Qinglu stood with the Taihao Immortal Mirror above his head. He was caught in a certain dilemma of whether to advance or retreat. Initially, Mu Qinglu thought that subduing Master Yuanyang would not encounter any accidents. That was why he came to the East Sea at the first opportunity, taking action against Bayou Island. Persimmons must be picked to squeeze the soft ones. Compared with the Blood Demon Sea, the Demon Saint's Nest, and the Nether Palace, Master Yuanyang naturally belonged to an undisputed soft persimmon. But to his surprise, this soft persimmon turned out to be the world's hardest stone. For Mu Qinglu, Master Yuanyang, whose combat power had reached the void refinement limit and was even surpassing the limit, was the one he least wanted to deal with. The Ghost Cultivator King of the Nether Palace, the Blood Demon of the Blood Demon Sea, and the Demon Saint from the Demon Saint's Nest had unique trump cards, and even with the Taihao Immortal Mirror in hand, Mu Qinglu could not totally annihilate them. But at least he could dominate the fight. Yet facing Master Yuanyang, Mu Qinglu didn't even have the confidence to win, let alone dominate. What worried Mu Qinglu even more was if Master Yuanyang joined hands with the Ghost Cultivator King, the Blood Demon, and the Demon Saint, Taoed Immortal Sect might face the worst situation in tens of thousands of years. Master Yuanyang, I think there has been some misunderstanding between us. Mu Qinglu was silent for a moment, put away the Taihao Immortal Mirror, and secretly transmitted his voice. Next, Mu Qinglu transmitted a few more words and then turned to leave. In the skies above Bayou Island, Lin Yuan stood aloft, quietly watching Mu Qinglu leave. Seeking to cooperate with me? Lin Yuan pondered the words Mu Qinglu had just privately transmitted. In summary, it meant one thing. The animosity between Taoed Immortal Sect and him, Master Yuanyang, was not irresolvable. The two could cooperate. As for the specifics of this cooperation, the details could be discussed. In Central Divine Continent, above the 9 heavens, Mu Kinglius' gaze was contemplative. Upon reflection, there was not much irreconcilable hatred between Master Yuanyang and Taoed Immortal Sect. It was just that Master Yuanyang had eradicated Taoed Immortal Sect's foothold in the Eastern Sea Islands, the Black Gauze Archipelago. but that Mu Qinglu could choose to forgive. It was just the Black Gauze Archipelago after all. As for his rash move against Bayou Island earlier, Mu Qinglu could totally make up for it in other ways. If I could cooperate with Master Yuanyang. Mu Qinglia's heartbeat quickened. Master Yuanyang was an ancient saint from the Taiyang lineage, and moreover, an ancient saint who had surpassed the void refinement limit. Such an ancient saint was simply a natural nemesis to those wicked and evil powers. If he were to join forces with him, it would be entirely possible to completely eradicate Nether Palace and the Blood Demon Sea. Before today, Mu Qinglu had never thought about dealing with Nether Palace and Blood Demon Sea, because it was very difficult to achieve. Even with the immortal artifact Taihao Immortal Mirror, it couldn't be done. This time, he held the Taihao Immortal Mirror in his hand as he left Mount Morality Immortal, with the intention of merely suppressing those three old fellows to teach them a lesson, so they wouldn't get any ideas. That was all. But now Mu Qinglu saw hope. Cloud Mist Blessed Land? Mu Qinglu suddenly stopped. His gaze turned towards the Cloud Mist Blessed Land below. Just before leaving, he had sent a few messages to Master Yuanyang. Among them was the possibility of cooperation. As for how to cooperate, the two needed to find a place to discuss it in detail. In the end, Mu Qinglu chose Cloud Mist Blessed Land. As for why not Mount Morality Immortal, Mount Morality Immortal was the old den of the Immortal Sect, and it was unknown how many strategies had been laid out by past sect masters. Mu Qinglu figured that if they really chose Mount Morality Immortal, then Master Yuanyang would not come. The Cloud Mist Blessed Land was quite appropriate. Although the Cloud Mist Blessed Land was one of the 108 Blessed Lands, it hadn't been rigged with many schemes. With Master Yuanyang's strength, the entire Cloud Mist Blessed Land was as insubstantial as tissue paper in his eyes. Choosing Cloud Mist Blessed Land meant that he, Mu Qinglu, absolutely had no other schemes up his sleeve. And the Cloud Mist Blessed Land was very close to Mount Morality Immortal. If the discussion did not go well, Mu Qinglu also had an escape route. One final point. Compared to other blessed lands of Central Divine Continent, the importance of Cloud Mist Blessed Land was not high, the only benefit being its ability to prolong life slightly. But the life-prolonging efficacy of Cloud Mist Blessed Land was negligible for cultivators. Swish. Mu Qinglu descended into the Cloud Mist Blessed Land. Greeting the Sect Master. Chunhua and Qiyu's faces were filled with panic, not knowing what matter brought the Sect Master to them. Where is Wuji? Mu Qinglu asked. The young master, he, is in seclusion. Chua spoke with a trembling voice. I'll go tell the young master right away. No need, Wuji. Images of Jun Wuji flashed through Mu Qinglia's mind. Moreover, the images of Jun Dongjin, Mu Lianer, Jun Xiaoyao, and Jun Jilan all passed through his mind in succession. For some reason, Mu Qinglu felt somewhat sorrowful at this moment. For the benefit of the Mu family, he had ultimately given up on Jun Dongjin, and even his two grandchildren, Jun Xiaoyao and Jun Jilan, had been sent to the distant vast cliff mountain. Only Jun Wuji, the grandson who had been scarcely noticeable since childhood, had escaped disaster, but even so, he was separated from his own parents and brothers. Wuji? Let him continue his cultivation. Don't disturb him, Mu Qinglu sighed. Despite being somewhat cruel, he, Mu Qinglu, did not feel he had done anything wrong. Do not go up to the attic on the mountain top. I shall meet a Taoist friend there. Mu Qinglu ordered a few words. Then his figure disappeared. Chapter 268 Grandpa, what do you want to cooperate with me on? Please subscribe _3. Yunwu Mountain Summit. Outside the attic, Mu Qinglu sat cross-legged, facing the direction of the East Sea, quietly waiting for Master Yuanyang to arrive. I wonder what price must be paid to persuade Master Yuanyang to cooperate with me against the Blood Demon Sea. Nether Palace? Mu Qinglu thought to himself. He greatly valued Master Yuanyang, such a powerful figure, who would stand out in any era, even tens of thousands of years ago in that age when beings beyond the void refinement limit frequently appeared. We must have a good discussion later. Even if we fail to agree, we must resolve any grievances. I absolutely cannot let Master Yuanyang collaborate with those three old men. Mu Qinglu secretly pondered. He had already communicated with Master Yuanyang, proposing a cooperation discussion at Cloud Mist Blessed Land, and the latter would likely arrive soon. The foot of Yunwu Mountain. Chunhua and Qiyu's faces had just regained some color. The sect master's sudden visit had really startled them. That was the Taoist immortal sect master, a supremely great figure in the central divine continent. For two lowly golden core stage female cultivators like them, meeting such a grand figure was something unlikely in their lifetimes. The sect master is here to meet some Tao companion, right? It must also be some grand figure, but to have the sect master personally wait, this Tao companion. Chunhua and Chuyue were puzzled. With the status of the immortal sect leader, who under the heavens would dare be late and let the sect master personally wait? Isn't that putting on airs a bit too much? Does the term Taoist in Taoist immortal sect carry the meaning of being moral? The reason it is called the Taoist immortal sect is that all enemies have been thoroughly defeated and subjugated. Only its own members are left, and that's why there's room for morality. As Chunhua and Choyue spoke softly, a figure emerged from a sealed cultivation chamber unknowingly. Ah, young master, you've come out. Chunhua and Choyue turned around and saw Lin Yuan, immediately bowing to greet him. Young master, the sect master was here just now. He's now at the summit of Yunwu Mountain, waiting for a Tao companion. Chunhua immediately shared everything she knew. I understand. Lin Yuan nodded. Lin Yuan looked up towards the summit of Yunwu Mountain. The mountain was enshrouded in clouds and mist, much like an immortal realm. It's about time. Lin Yuan's expression was calm. He then followed the mountain path stairway. Then he climbed the stairs towards the summit. Young master. Chunhua and Choyue, upon seeing this, hesitated but did not interfere. Although the Taoist immortal sect master had said not to let anyone go up, the young master was not an outsider. He was the immortal sect leader's grandson. He should be allowed to go up, right? Yunwu Mountain was not tall, only a few hundred meters high, but the mountain paths and stairways were quite rugged. Lin Yuan's eyes were downcast as he ascended step by step. Lin Yuan did not use any divine skills and simply climbed steadily. About half an hour later, Lin Yuan reached the summit of Yunwu Mountain. He saw Mu Qinglu, facing east, back towards him. Lin Yuan walked straight towards him. Wuji? Mu Qinglu had already noticed Lin Yuan, but did not stop him. I've already talked to Meng Ting. He will soon bring Jun Dongjin and your mother back, and your family will be reunited. Mu Qinglu assumed Jun Wuji wanted to plead for his parents and directly broached the subject. Upon hearing this, Lin Yuan did not stop. He walked in front of Mu Qinglu and sat down eye level with the immortal sect leader who dominated the central divine continent. Wuji. Mu Qinglius' brow slightly furrowed. The spot Lin Yuan chose was the one he had reserved for Master Yuanyang. Nonetheless, since Wuji was his grandson, even with such impudence, Mu Qinglu still did nothing. Wuji, you go down first. In a moment, your grandfather and a Tao companion have important matters to discuss, matters that relate to the overall situation in the central divine continent. Mu Qinglius' expression was amiable. He thought he was not wrong about the Jun Dongjin situation, but he still felt somewhat guilty towards his grandson. Lin Yuan remained silent, simply quietly observing Mu Qinglu. Wuji. Mu Qinglius' smile faded. He was somewhat baffled about what his grandson was trying to do. Did he not understand the importance of the upcoming discussion for Tao Immortal Sect, for the central divine continent? The two stared at each other. Grandfather. Just then, Lin Yuan slowly began to speak. Mu Qinglius' expression softened, but Lin Yuan's next words made his pupils contract. What do you want to cooperate with me on? Chapter 269 Being Reactive and Negotiating. Please subscribe. Bayou Island. Lin Yuanyang's spirit floated down serenely. The disciples of the White Jade Pavilion were filled with fervor, having just thought themselves certainly doomed to death. The terrifying beam of light that pierced through heaven and earth had been effortlessly blocked by the sect master, especially the sect master himself, who, in the end, transformed into a colossal giant tens of thousands of zhang tall, covering the entire Bayou Island with a mere palm. Such divine skills and abilities, even the ancient saints of refined void might not be capable of them, right? That light beam, should it be the Taihao immortal mirror of the Daoed immortal sect? Our sect master blocked the strike from the Taihao immortal mirror? Doesn't that mean the sect master is already an ancient saint? Nonsense, merely an ancient saint? That Taihao immortal mirror is the founding artifact of the Daoed immortal sect, and under it, which of the three ancient saints from the Blood Demon Sea, Nether Palace, and Demon Saints Nest dare to resist? Our sect master's power is simply 100 years had made the White Jade Pavilion the most powerful force in the East Sea. Its disciples, worldly and wise, immediately deduced that the light descending from the 9 heavens probably came from the legendary immortal artifact, the Taihao immortal mirror. Lin Yuan glanced at the multitude of ecstatic disciples from the White Jade Pavilion, then returned directly to his cave dwelling in the core area. Master, Li Qing and the other disciples accepted by Lin Yuan immediately greeted him with utmost respect. Under Lin Yuan's occasional guidance and the rich cultivation environment of Baiyu Island, disciples like Li Qing were either at the 4th stage martial Tao or 5th stage martial Tao, matching the nascent Soul True Monarchs and Mahayana Heavenly Monarchs of the immortal cultivation system. The ordinary disciples outside had only seen Lin Yuan's incredible feat, blocking the strike from the immortal mirror that could have erased Baiyu Island from existence. But disciples like Li Qing, with their strong capabilities in high realm, were even more acutely aware of just how terrifying the colossal giant Lin Yuan had transformed into really was, and what it truly meant to be able to withstand a strike from the Taihao immortal mirror head-on. Master, how can Master be so powerful? Li Qing and the other disciples trembled in their spirits. They had been cultivating alongside Lin Yuan for over a century, under his tutelage. They had considered their master's power unfathomably deep, but at most felt it was close to an ancient saint of refined void level. As to blocking the strike from the world's strongest ancient saint of refined void just now, making the revered immortal sect leader retreat proactively, that was nothing short of a fanciful tale. Well, there's something I need to announce. Lin Yuan looked towards the 3 to 4 dozen disciples he had taken in over the years. These disciples were particularly suitable for cultivating the martial arts evolution system and were key to supporting the continuation of the martial arts evolution system once Lin Yuan left this realm. Master, please speak. Master, please speak. Li Qing and the other disciples immediately said respectfully. Go and unify the East Sea. Lin Yuan spoke calmly. For over a century, even though the White Jade Pavilion had become the most powerful force in the East Sea, it had not interfered with other, less orthodox paths. Not because it couldn't, but for fear of attracting the attention of the Daoed immortal sect. However, there was no need for such concerns now. Lin Yuan's power had already become invincible in this world. If not for that Taihao immortal mirror, merely with the Yin spirit and Yang spirit, he could have swept across this realm. Unify the islands of the East Sea. Li Qing and the other disciples were invigorated. Lin Yuan's gaze fell towards the direction of the central divine continent. This world is not limited to the immortal path. My martial Tao also needs to make its mark. Vast Cliff Mountain. Every corner was guarded by divinity transformation stage heaven lords. Jun Dongjin, as a former high-ranking member of the Daoed immortal sect and even a contender for the sect master position, was now abandoned and assigned to the remote Vast Cliff Mountain, yet still protected by divinity transformation stage cultivators from the immortal sect. In fact, it was more surveillance than protection. Jun Dongjin knew too many secrets of the Daoed immortal sect, and should he escape or be swayed by the Nether Palace, Blood Demon Sea, or Demon Saint's Nest, it wouldn't bode well for the Daoed immortal sect. Within a cave several li away from Vast Cliff Mountain, 2 divinity transformation stage heaven lords sat cross-legged. To think that we, as esteemed heaven lords, would be assigned to such a remote place. The thin man on the left side, a divinity transformation stage heaven lord, even within the Daoed immortal sect, is regarded as a mid to upper level cultivator, entitled to benefit from the spirit vein of Mount Morality Immortal, greatly aiding in cultivation. Yet now, situated around the Vast Cliff Mountain, despite the presence of nature's spiritual energy, it surely pales in comparison to that of Immortal Mountain. Even Jun Dongjin himself is here. What complaints could you have? The round-faced Heaven Lord glanced at the thin man. I'm not complaining, just think the sect master is a bit unfeeling. Suppressing Jun Dongjin is one thing, but why reassign his daughter and grandson here as well? The sect master's decision must have its reasons. The round-faced Heaven Lord shook his head. Do you think Jun Dongjin will ever return to Mount Morality immortal? The thin man couldn't help but ask. Not sure. It all depends on Mu Mengting's wishes. The round-faced Heaven Lord pondered then replied. The current situation within the Dao Immortal sect was clear. Mu Mengting was designated as the next sect master. Then it's over. The thin man suddenly felt a headache. Though not appropriate to discuss the future sect master Mu Mengting, her vengeful nature was no secret. Perhaps once Mu Mengting stepped into the refining void period and became an ancient saint, taking over as a mortal sect leader, her outlook might change, but that was merely a possibility. It's really Jun Wuji, Jun Dongjin's youngest son, who is lucky. The whole family is reassigned here, yet he remains enjoying his life in the cloud mist-blessed land. The thin man couldn't help but feel emotional. Sometimes, being weak is a blessing. Chapter 270 Playing Second Fiddle and Negotiating, subscribe requested, _2. Jun Wuji was still able to stay in cloud mist-blessed land only because, in the eyes of Mu Qinglu and Mu Mengting, this man posed no threat. He didn't even have the slightest presence. That's why he was able to escape this calamity. Indeed, the round-faced celestial lord nodded in agreement. If Jun Wuji had been the least bit noticeable, he, along with his 2 elder brothers and elder sister, would have been transferred over as well. He. Just as the gaunt man was about to say something, his expression suddenly changed. The round-faced celestial lord beside him experienced the same change. Within their sensory range, a presence appeared out of thin air, and it headed straight for Vast Cliff Mountain. How audacious! How reckless! Do you not know that this place is a forbidden land of the Dao Immortal sect? The other Mahayana heavenly monarchs also noticed it one after another. They all revealed themselves, shouting in an explosive manner. Who are you? Son Jun Wuji? When the Mahayana Phase Heaven Lords saw clearly the face of the newcomer, they were immediately stunned. The aura exuded by the figure in front of them was similar to that of Tai Yin under the bright moon, but the face was that of Jun Wuji. Though Jun Wuji was exceedingly low profile within the Dao Immortal sect, his appearance was widely known, as he was once a third-generation celestial with a heaven-reaching background. I've come to take my parents away, Lin Yuan spoke with a calm tone. Before confronting Mu Qinglu, Lin Yuan had already sent his Tai Yin primordial spirit to Vast Cliff Mountain. Regardless of the final outcome of the negotiations, Lin Yuan planned to take his parents and elder siblings to the Eastern Sea Islands. At the very least, he wouldn't allow them to remain in the hands of the Dao Immortal sect. For this reason, this Tai Yin primordial spirit of Lin Yuan had purposely transformed into the main Bodhis appearance, so it would be easier for his parents to accept. Son Jun Wuji, may I ask if you have the sect master's decree? The round-faced celestial lord and the other celestial lords glanced at each other and tested the question. A starving camel is still bigger than a horse. Even though Jun Dongjin was no longer part of the sect's high ranks, he was after all the son-in-law of the Mu family. Jun Wuji was even the immortal sect leader's grandson. Once all the celestial lords on scene recognized Jun Wuji's identity, none of them dared to speak out of turn. A sect decree? I don't have one. Lin Yuan shook his head as he replied. According to the rules, without a sect decree, Lord Jun Dongjin's family is not permitted to leave. The round-faced celestial lord reminded him, closely scrutinizing the Jun Wuji before him, sensing something very strange about his aura. No matter, Lin Yuan said with a slight smile. The next moment, the expressions of the round-faced celestial lord and the others drastically changed. They all felt the space around them solidify and found that they were unable to move their internal mana or divine sense. They were bound in place. Then, under the watchful eyes of numerous celestial lords, Lin Yuan walked directly towards Vast Cliff Mountain. Inside Vast Cliff Mountain, Jun Dongjin, Mu Lianer and Jun Jilan, as well as Jun Xiaoyao, had long noticed the commotion outside. At this moment, they looked towards the approaching Jun Wuji in shock. "Wuji," Mu Lianer tentatively called out. Although the appearance was the same, the aura was inconsistent. "Mother," Lin Yuan nodded. At that word, Mu Lianer felt a sense of relief in her heart. Though it was just one word, it assured Mu Lianer that this was indeed her younger son, Jun Wuji. "Long story short, I'm going to take you to the East Sea now, where it is much safer than here." Lin Yuan looked towards his parents and elder siblings. "Ah!" Jun Jilan blinked. Everything that happened from the beginning until now left her in a state of confusion. How could her little brother be like this? And just now, that group of Mahayana heavenly monarchs watching over them, why did they suddenly become immobile? "Well, explain after we reach the East Sea." Lin Yuan raised his right hand and swept his great sleeve. Space twisted as if compressed, and Jun Dongjin and the other three began to shrink steadily until they were all drawn into the sleeve. The Dowd Immortal Sect's supreme technique, Cosmos in the sleeve. The cloud mist blessed land. Dowd Immortal Sect leader Mu Qinglu, with his gaze fixed intently on the grandson sitting across from him at eye level. At this moment, Mu Qinglia's heart was overwhelmed by towering waves. "That sentence, 'What do you wish to cooperate with me on?' from Jun Wuji almost caused Mu Qinglu to lose his composure on the spot. As an ancient saint of refined void, with an exceptionally clear memory, Mu Qinglu was certain that the matter of cooperating with Master Yuanyang was only discussed with Master Yuanyang himself. To others, he had mentioned only that he was discussing important matters with a Taoist friend. Discussing important matters could mean many things, far beyond just cooperation. But now, Jun Wuji was asking him, what to cooperate on? "Wuji you." Mu Qinglia's pupils faintly reflected the silhouette of a celestial mirror. In just an instant, Mu Qinglu activated dozens, if not hundreds, of secret techniques, trying to uncover the truth about his grandson. He had no choice. That phrase, "what to cooperate on," had too great an impact on Mu Qinglu. Even if Jun Wuji had guessed it by chance, Mu Qinglu would still verify it repeatedly. Hum! With a jolt, Mu Qinglu closed his eyes tightly. He seemed to see torrents of blood qi and rolling scarlet clouds. Jun Wuji, within him, contained some sort of extremely terrifying power that blocked all of his probing secret techniques. Who are you really? Without a sound, above Mu Qinglia's head, a celestial mirror radiating with fairy light surfaced. The pressure from Jun Wuji was indeed too great. So great that he subconsciously activated the Taihao Immortal Mirror for protection. "Grandfather, I am Jun Wuji, and also Master Yuanyang." Lin Yuan's expression remained calm. Since he had decided to reveal his cards, Lin Yuan saw no need to hide his identity anymore, mainly because his current strength was already invincible, fearing nothing, not even the immortal sect leader wielding an immortal artifact. "You!" Mu Qinglia's face went through a myriad of changes. At this moment, he even suspected that his own grandson might have been possessed by the powerful Master Yuanyang. However, possession techniques come with many restrictions, and with his strength, he should have detected something amiss if Jun Wuji had genuinely been possessed. But there was nothing. The soul aura of his grandson had been unchanged from beginning to end. "Master Yuanyang," Mu Qinglu raised his head, looking in the direction of the eastern sea, vaguely sensing an aura as imposing as the sun rising up and responding to the Jun Wuji in front of him. Impressive. After a long while, Mu Qinglia's expression gradually regained calmness. "I never expected that my Dowd Immortal Sect, after hundreds of thousands of years, would produce a genius like you." Now that the most unbelievable possibility had become the truth, Mu Qinglia's mind began to clarify the numerous doubts he had. For instance, when Master Yuanyang first appeared, it had been on the Black Gauze Archipelago. At that time, his grandson was present to celebrate his own Hollow Void ceremony. Meng Ting was reporting to him about matters concerning the Black Gauze Archipelago at the time. "I want to work with you to take down Nether Palace, the Blood Demon Sea." Looking at Jun Wuji, who had become a stranger before him, Mu Qinglu said in a low voice, "By now, He had fully elevated his own grandson to the same level of authority as himself, and his tone was of negotiation. "No problem," Lin Yuan said indifferently. He had no particular affection for the Nether Palace, the Blood Demon Sea, or even the Demon Saint's Nest. Even if Mu Qinglu had not mentioned it now, Lin Yuan would have planned to flatten them later on. Then, Mu Qinglu let out a sigh of relief and continued, "What are your conditions?" As long as they could resolve a major concern that had plagued the Daoed Immortal sect for hundreds of thousands of years, Mu Qinglu was willing to pay a significant price. Therefore, even if Lin Yuan made a huge demand, Mu Qinglu would likely agree in the end. After all, Lin Yuan was his grandson. Even if he gained a lot more benefits from the Daoed Immortal sect, it would still be falling into the hands of his own people. Keeping the profit in the family has its reasoning too. 3 conditions, Lin Yuan began. First, I want the complete Taoist Immortal Scripture. The Taoist Immortal Scripture, a sect treasure-level cultivation method of the Daoed Immortal sect, encompasses the essence of progress after the refining void period into the Dao integration stage. Within the entire Daoed Immortal sect, only the sect master is permitted to cultivate the scripture. Even the once Jun Dongjin had not learned it. As the 3rd generation of the Immortal sect, Lin Yuan's older brother Jun Xiaoyao would often secretly bring out many of the Immortal sect's secret techniques and methods for him. However, the Taoist Immortal Scripture was something he could not bring out. No one in the Daoed Immortal sect, except for the sect master, knew the location of the scripture, let alone have the chance to access or take it out. No problem. Mu Qinglu thought for a moment and nodded in agreement. Chapter 271 Contest for the Great Dao. Subscribe please. For the Daoed Immortal sect, the Taoist Immortal Scripture is of utmost importance, encompassing many secret techniques and methods of the sect. It even contains essential descriptions of the Dao integration stage. Therefore, within the Daoed Immortal sect, only the sect master could cultivate the Taoist Immortal Scripture. Even though Mu Mengting had stepped into the refining void, he could not access the Taoist Immortal Scripture before becoming the sect master. This was a rule and ironclad law of the Daoed Immortal sect, adhered to for hundreds of thousands of years. However, Mu Qinglu knew that rules were made by men. His own grandson, with such terrifying aptitude and fearsome power, could be trusted with the Taoist Immortal Scripture without significant risk. After all, whether it was given or not, Mu Qinglu had no confidence in defeating Lin Yuan. This must not be divulged, and all matters concerning the Taoist Immortal Scripture must not be taught to a second person. Mu Qinglu spoke. He could only tolerate Jun Wuji being the sole person privy to the Taoist Immortal Scripture. Agreed. Lin Yuan nodded. The second condition. I want to know everything about the Ascension Platform. Lin Yuan continued. The Ascension Platform is of great significance. The Blood Demon Sea, the Nether Palace, and the Demon Saint's Nest have continuously stirred up wars in the Divine Continent in pursuit of the Ascension Platform. Furthermore, hundreds of thousands of years ago, the Daoed Immortal sect's control over the Divine Continent was also due to the Ascension Platform. It is said that the Ascension Platform connects to the spirit realm. You need not mention this. I would have told you anyway, Mu Qinglu said. Even if he did not inform Lin Yuan, those 3 old fellows from the Nether Palace, the Blood Demon Sea, and the Demon Saint's Nest would eagerly tell Master Yuanyang. The third. Lin Yuan paused. The third condition, also critically important, outweighed the previous 2 combined. I wish to spread martial Tao throughout the Divine Continent. Lin Yuan stated. Implicitly, the Daoed Immortal sect must not suppress the spread of martial Tao. Martial Tao. Mu Qinglius' expression changed slightly. He knew that many disciples in the White Jade Pavilion of the Eastern Sea were cultivating a system called martial Tao. Mu Qinglu had even observed some techniques of the martial arts system. Martial Tao, being a cultivation system entirely different from the Immortal Path, showed potential that was not much weaker than the Immortal Path. The reason why this time the Daoed Immortal sect cultivated the second ancient saint, with Mu Qinglu wielding the Taihao Immortal Mirror and intending to erase Baiyu Island, was not only because he saw Baiyu Island as an easy target, but because martial Tao posed a certain threat to Mu Qinglu. In the Eastern Sea Islands, with 800 fringe sects and 3,000 left paths, the cultivation systems vary greatly, but they all have obvious flaws and almost never give rise to a being at the refining void ancient saint layer. This was also why the Eastern Sea Islands remained in perpetual chaos, lacking a sufficiently powerful cultivator, thus constantly fractured. But martial Tao. Mu Qinglu was almost certain that cultivating according to the martial Tao cultivation system and producing an ancient saint, or the equivalent of 6-stage martial Tao, was merely a matter of time. Choose another. That's impossible. Mu Qinglu shook his head. Other matters could be discussed, but allowing the spread of martial Tao, absolutely impossible. In Mu Qinglius' eyes, his greatest concession could be allowing Jun Wuji to become the next sect master of the immortal sect. After all, Jun Wuji was a disciple of the Daoed immortal sect, with such strength and aptitude, far surpassing Mu Mengting whom he had nurtured. Allowing Jun Wuji to be the next sect master was not a problem, but rather could fully align him with their cause. As for Mu Mengting, he could only be slightly disgraced, serving as the protector of the Daoed immortal sect. Impossible! Lin Yuan's expression remained unchanged. He internally sighed softly. He had anticipated this possibility, as martial Tao and the immortal path were fundamentally different. Simply put, what is the fundament of the Daoed immortal sect? Is it the successive sect masters? Or the endless immortal methods and secret techniques? Neither. The fundament of the Daoed immortal sect is the immortal path. The immortal path for the Daoed immortal sect is as essential as the imperial bloodline in a vast empire. In the empire, anyone can become emperor, provided they possess the imperial lineage. Nowadays, Lin Yuan's attempt to have the Daoed immortal sect permit the spread of martial Tao is akin to undercutting the foundation and changing dynasties. If Mu Qinglu truly agreed to this, he would become the eternal sinner of the Daoed immortal sect. Martial Tao and the immortal path represent two fundamentally different great Dao. Contests between great Dao are exactly like this. As for why body cultivation does not conflict with the immortal path, it's because body cultivation is not a complete cultivation system. Any cultivation system, when developed deeply, enhances oneself all round: body, spirit, lifespan, etc. However, body cultivation only enhances the physical body, unable even to increase the most fundamental lifespan of a cultivator. This means that body cultivation is more akin to a type of secret technique. Not only the immortal path but also martial Tao, demonic Tao, and others could incorporate body cultivation into their domain. Then forget it. Lin Yuan remained calm. His appearance at the meeting with Mu Qinglu was merely a test to gauge the attitude of the Daoed immortal sect towards martial Tao. Lin Yuan had already prepared for failure before he ascended the summit of Yunwu Mountain, having the Taiyin primordial spirit move his parents and siblings to the Eastern Sea in advance. Forget it. Mu Qinglu remained silent. These words marked the failure of their cooperation. Wuji. Mu Qinglius' gaze suddenly intensified. The Taihao immortal mirror above his head emitted strands of immortal light. That Master Yuanyang, he must be one of your avatars? Mu Qinglu muttered to himself. The technique of creating avatars is not rare, and the Daoed immortal sect possesses the secret technique to forge avatars. Chapter 272: The Struggle of the Great Dao. Subscription request _2. However, to refine an avatar, one must pay a huge price, and in the end, one has to split off a portion of their own soul and infuse it into the avatar body. Losing a portion of one's soul means a decrease in the cultivation speed and perception among other aspects. Therefore, Mu Qinglu did not cultivate the avatar technique. He wielded the Taihao immortal mirror, and in today's world, no matter the distance, he could instantly form an incarnation with the mirror, which was not much different from an avatar. Today, I want to see, Wuji, just how strong you have become after all this time of restraint. Mu Qinglu suddenly stood up, and above his head, the Taihao immortal realm shone brightly. Oh! At the foot of Yunwu Mountain, Chunhua and Shoyue, two golden core female cultivators, were whispering to each other. The young master has been up there for so long. Why hasn't he come down yet? Perhaps he is talking with the sect leader, after all. The young master has not gone out for a long time. Indeed, but the fact that the sect leader is willing to talk so much with the young master shows they must have feelings. While chatting, Chunhua and Shoue glanced toward the top of Yunwu Mountain. Suddenly, a terrifying fluctuation transmitted from the mountaintop. Instinctively, Chunhua and Shoue looked up. They were instantly so shocked that their jaws dropped. They saw two figures soaring into the sky from the top of Yunwu Mountain. The one on the left was the immortal sect leader, Mu Qinglu, with the founding artifact of the sect, the Taihao Immortal Mirror, radiating boundless light and boundless calamity, his presence overwhelming. The figure on the right seemed to possess supreme strength, with raging blood energy and rolling crimson clouds drowning the area within 100,000 miles. With the Taihao Immortal Mirror above his head, the immortal sect leader, Mu Qinglu, appeared like a ship that could capsize at any moment among the vast sea of blood and energy, swaying unsteadily. The key puzzlement for Chunhua and Shoue was that the figure overpowering the sect leader seemed to be their young master, Jun Wuji. Was the young master fighting the sect leader? It seems the sect leader couldn't defeat the young master. Chunhua and Shoue opened their mouths wide. The moment Mu Qinglu and Lin Yuan clashed, terrifying fluctuations spread in all directions. West of Divine Continent, Demon Saint's Nest. The Demon Saint was pondering the strength of Master Yuan Yang, who could block a strike from Mu Qinglu wielding the Taihao Immortal Mirror, when suddenly, "What is that?" The Demon Saint's expression suddenly changed. He clearly felt two powerful auras clashing in the center of Central Divine Continent. One aura, boundless light and boundless calamity, illuminating every corner of the world, should indeed be Mu Qinglu. As for the other aura, blood energy pervaded, shaking Central Divine Continent. Despite the infinite power of the Taihao Immortal Mirror surpassing the limits of the refining void period, it still seemed unstable amidst the terrifying blood energy. Who could it be? Who could be suppressing Mu Qinglu in Central Divine Continent? The Demon Saint was truly scared. That was Mu Qinglu wielding the Taihao Immortal Mirror, with divine might covering the world, unrivaled by anyone. When had he ever been so suppressed, especially at his own doorstep? Show yourself. The Demon Saint took a deep breath and reached out in front of him. He was activating some secret technique to project the scene of the great battle in the center of the Divine Continent here. Whoosh! A series of ethereal images slowly emerged. It was a battlefield located in the 9 heavens. The rolling crimson clouds, the pure red blood energy nearly drowning everything. But the Demon Saint vaguely noticed a mighty man standing at the center of this ocean of blood. He stood tall, swinging a certain type of fist technique, pressing down on the Taihao Immortal Mirror and Mu Qinglu agonizingly. Every punch the man threw created a faint fist imprint on the body of the Taihao Immortal Mirror, which would instantly heal, but this was the Taihao Immortal Mirror, a Dao Integration Period immortal artifact. It was supposed to be indestructible. Overwhelming blood energy? Is it the body cultivation lineage? No, it's not just that. The Demon Saint swallowed nervously. It had been a very long time since he felt such fear, but seeing that mighty man now, the Demon Saint's mind trembled. Who could it be? Who could it be? The Demon Saint continued to stimulate the secret technique, and the image gradually became clearer, revealing the mighty man's features. It's... The Demon Saint widened his eyes. As an ancient saint of refinement void, his memory was incredibly strong. Every time he awoke, he would recall the faces of all slightly notable cultivators from the Dao Immortal sect in Central Divine Continent. And at this moment, the face of that mighty man was none other than that of Jun Wuji, regarded as a waste by the Dao Immortal sect due to his lack of spirit root qualifications? How is this possible? The Demon Saint was dumbfounded, unable to respond for a long time. Is it Jun Wuji? How is he so powerful? In the Blood Demon Sea, the Lord of the Blood Demons was also feeling waves of shock in his heart. He had tried before to win over Jun Wuji, through whom he could gain favor with Jun Dongjin. He was thus quite familiar with Jun Wuji, having paid close attention to him. But now, the Lord of the Blood Demons trembled in fear. The lineage of the Blood Demons, most afraid of the utmost rigid and yang blood energy, although the Lord of the Blood Demons had extremely strong life-saving measures, claiming that as long as the Blood Demon Sea exists, he could not die. Seeing that towering figure enveloped in towering blood energy, the Lord of the Blood Demons felt that if he were in Mu Kinglius' position, even his vast blood demon sea would be evaporated by that boundless blood energy. Jun Wuji, I never expected you to have hidden so deeply. The Blood Demon Lord steadied his mind. At that moment, he suddenly thought of the blood-red figure he had sent to win over Jun Wuji. The blood-red figure had died very quickly, and the Blood Demon Lord had thought it was just bad luck, discovered by Mu Qinglu wielding the Taihao Immortal Mirror. But now, it seemed likely that the blood-red figure had died at the hands of Jun Wuji. Fortunately, the Blood Demon Lord looked at the ongoing fight, or rather, it was Jun Wuji dominating Mu Qinglu, and for some reason he felt relieved, even though he didn't know why Jun Wuji was fighting with his grandfather Mu Qinglu. But this was a good thing, given the strength that Jun Wuji had displayed. If anyone teamed up with Mu Qinglu, no, even without teaming up, if Jun Wuji harbored killing intent towards them, he wouldn't be able to escape even if he wanted to. The other ancient saints of Refinement Void could possibly hide in some corner and cling to life. But since he was merged with the Blood Demon Sea, he couldn't escape and was too obvious a target, practically a living target. Oh! Nether Palace. The emaciated man's forehead vaguely oozed cold sweat. He didn't have a physical body, existing only as a soul form, and shouldn't even be capable of cold sweat. But feeling the intensity of the fight between Lin Yuan and Mu Qinglu about blew his scalp off. Such vast and relentless vitality. If it came to suppress him, the emaciated man didn't dare to imagine the consequences. As the king of ghost cultivators, he possessed a certain immortality trait. But even immortality had its limits. Being swept with that boundless vitality once would strip him of a layer of skin. Swept a few more times, and he probably would indeed die. Retreat! 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 The emaciated man immediately controlled the Nether Palace to flee towards the utmost southern direction. He was truly afraid. Above the 9 heavens, Mu Qinglu, with the Taihao Immortal Mirror above his head, struggled to defend. Wuji, how is Wuji so strong? Mu Kinglius' expression was ugly. He had originally thought that much of Jun Wuji's strength resided in Master Yuanyang. His sudden attack, not to mention defeating the adversary, at least he expected to regain some face. Being inferior to his own grandson was not a good thing for a grandfather. But the reality was the opposite. In merely an instant of contact, he was suppressed by Lin Yuan, and he hadn't had a chance to counterattack since then. It wasn't that he didn't want to counterattack, but that he simply couldn't. We can't drag this on. Mu Qinglu made up his mind. Although with the help of the Taihao Immortal Mirror, he could still hold on. Continuing like this wasn't good. Let's return to the Dowd Immortal Sect. Mu Qinglu sighed. For the first time in tens of thousands of years, the leader of the sect was forced to retreat to his own sect's gate by an outsider. Whoosh! The Taihao Immortal Mirror suddenly emitted boundless light, breaking through layers of vitality. It shot towards Mount Morality Immortal. Seeing this, Lin Yuan followed closely. Mount Morality Immortal. Immortal Qi filled the air. But at this time, the entire sect was as if facing a great enemy. The sect master's terrifying battle in the sky above the cloud-mist-blessed land was naturally sensed early on by many disciples nearby Mount Morality Immortal. Many elders and the supreme elders all began to activate the sect protection array. A beam of mirror light fell from above. The Taihao Immortal Mirror, as the pivot of the sect's great formation of Mount Morality Immortal, could ignore many of the sect's formations and directly enter. Quickly activate the 9 Heavens Defense Array, the 10 Earths Thick Soil Array, the 5 Elements Rotation Array, the Yin-Yang Integration Array. Mu Qinglu, in a rush, activated the Taihao Immortal Realm, turning on all the countless arrays the Dowd Immortal Sect had accumulated over tens of thousands of years. The next moment, whoosh, like the dawn sky, boundless and unparalleled, the brilliant and startling torrents of vitality submerged Mount Morality Immortal. You're tuning in to the Legend of the Vagabond YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.